872.
Warren and Fiegel Optometry at 2121 North Tyler, number 302, has a selection of prescription sun eyewear that's so bright everyone can be wearing shades. Warren and Fiegel Optometry has the names in sun eye apparel that people seek. Prescription eyewear from Maui Jim, Oakley, Wiley X, Rudy Project, and even sunglasses from Amphibia. Squinting in this beautiful sunshine doesn't have to be a thing. What are you wearing? Warren and Fiegel Optometry. 21st in Tyler.
This is a Steckline communication station, K273CX, FM 102.5, and AM 1480 KQAM. Wichita proud. It's time for your latest news from the KQAM News Center. Brought to you by Kennedy Tire and Auto Care Center, 3250 West 13th Street. Locally owned and operated. Now you have a friend in the tire business. Kennedy Tire and Auto Care Center.
Good Tuesday. A 31-year-old man accused of kicking a 1-year-old boy to the ground in a Wichita grocery store has been charged with a felony and other counts. Trace Riff was charged in a Wichita courtroom yesterday with felony attempted aggravated battery, interference with law enforcement, and 2 counts of disorderly conduct. The alleged incident happened on December 23rd at the Dillon store at Douglas and Hillside. Police say Riff, who is Caucasian, kicked the toddler in the back, causing the child to fall on the floor while Riff was yelling obscenities and racial slurs. Cake TV reports the boy, who is black, was not injured in the incident. Wichita police yesterday afternoon investigated an accidental shooting in a vehicle in the area of 37th Street North and Rock Road. KWCH-TV reports shortly before 1 o'clock, police say a person in a car was trying to put a firearm into a holster, and in doing so, the weapon discharged, striking that person. The victim taken to the hospital for treatment of injuries not considered life-threatening. I'm Rick Everett. Now sports.
The college football season wrapped up last night, and a new national champion was crowned. It was the Clemson Tigers after a dominating performance over Alabama, 44-16. Freshman quarterback Trevor Lawrence was the MVP of the game. The Kansas City Chiefs are getting prepared for their playoff game coming up this Saturday against the Indianapolis Colts. Andy Reid met with the media yesterday. A lot of questions about his playoff record and how has he handled it for this year's team.
You've played a season. I think it's important that you don't worry about all that. You worry about the process that you're going through to get ready to play against a good football team.
From the sports desk, I'm Doug Downs.
The Laundry Station in Wichita is Kansas' premier laundry services provider. The Laundry Station has machines for all of your needs in the Wichita area. In fact, the largest machine can handle 10 loads at a time. And for those of you who are not do-it-yourselfers, the Laundry Station's premium wash, dry, fold service allows you to drop off and pick up your laundry the same day in most cases. Conveniently located in the heart of Wichita, on Oliver at Kellogg. The Laundry Station, and online at thelaundrystationks.com.
Every truck owner knows real truck protection doesn't drop in, it's sprayed on. And the leader in sprayed-on truck bed liners is Rhino Lining. And now Toppers Plus Truck Accessories is your Rhino dealer. Rhino's sprayed-on truck bed liners outperform all plastic drop-in, rubber mats, and paint-like coatings. Rhino linings never crack, never peel, never warp, and come with a nationwide lifetime warranty. Nothing beats a Rhino. See how good they are. Call Toppers Plus Truck Accessories 942-2864 or find them at toppersplusks.com.
Make your truck work for you!
ABC Recycling pays top dollar for your scrap metal. Is your New Year's resolution to purge your place of stuff? If it's metal, don't even think about sending it to the landfill before you talk with ABC Recycling. They want to see what you have. With years of experience, ABC Recycling has gained the trust of businesses and individuals as seasoned recyclers. Bring your scraps to ABC Recycling and they'll give it a new purpose while you get a positive impact on your bottom line and your pocket. Visit us just west of Hydraulic and Gilbert or online at abcrecyclingllc.com.
Jesse Soria, the owner of Cholitas Mexican Restaurant. Jesse, what is the magic of Cholitas?
I believe it's been our consistency. We've been able to provide a quality product by making our foods fresh daily. Our cooks come in and they start with the sauces, the chips. We make everything there. We have really good customer service. It's just overall quality.
Open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Cholitas Mexican Restaurant inside Westlink Shopping Center at Central and Tyler. It sounds innocent enough.
I like to shop the internet thinking I'll save a few dollars.
But
when it comes to truck accessories, we spend a lot of time in our shop trying to adapt for people what they thought would be such a great deal.
With a combined 100 years of knowledge and experience, our professional sales and installation staff will help you make sure that you get the right accessories for your truck.
Have your accessories professionally installed, saving you time and headaches.
Continental Truck Accessories, 6701 South Broadway.
The latest news from the Big Talker, KQAM. With the shutdown stalemate in its 18th day, President Trump is set to argue in a primetime TV address tonight that a crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border requires a wall. It is unknown publicly if the president will declare a national emergency, as he has hinted, to move forward without congressional approval, which would be a highly controversial move. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in China, meeting with China's president in what diplomats say is an effort to coordinate with his only major ally ahead of a possible second summit with President Trump. An iconic American retailer's fate may be decided today in a bankruptcy court, as business reporter Tom Busby tells us.
D-Day today for Sears and Kmart. The board of the bankrupt retail giant will decide if the latest $4.4 billion bid by its own chairman will be enough to save those chains from total liquidation and save 50,000 jobs.
Wall Street investors watching for any word from Beijing and the latest round of U.S.-China trade talks don't seem concerned about Sears, with stock futures showing robust gains across the boards. I'm Michael Toscano.
Your local weather on KQAM, brought to you by Jewelry Savers. Conveniently located off K96 on Greenwich Road. The Kansas trusted jewelry source since 1971. Jewelry Savers.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker, KQAM, for this morning. Sunny and windy, high around 52, clear and 27 tonight. Tomorrow, sunny and 48, partly cloudy and 30 for tomorrow night, partly sunny and 46 on Thursday, chance of rain and snow on Friday. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
At 6:06, it's currently 44 degrees.
Breaking news and special reports, all right here on the Big Talker 1480 AM and 102.5 FM KQAM.
It's time for Reason.
The fact of the matter is that a free market, free enterprise style of education means that you had the choice as a parent to take your kids where you feel they're going to get their best education. And that holds the school accountable to have a higher standard, because they need to compete with other schools in order for you to actually want to take your children there, not to be forced to take your children there. It's kind of like the healthcare industry.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. We are simulcasting today on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning. Welcome aboard. It's an honor to have you along today for the ride. Boy, we got a lot to talk about today. We are also on YouTube Live today, youtube.com. Find KQAM Radio. Subscribe to the page. We are actually, the quality is a little bit better today. See, we are trying to grow, trying to expand, and the other side of the studios, the sports dorks over there on KGSO, they're now trying to be on TV as well. And if you want to watch the game plan, as we're on channel 26.10, the sports guys are now on channel 30.5 as well. So they're on TV, and we're getting that going. The problem was that yesterday we were trying to use the same bandwidth for both of our streams, and it got a little bogged down. So if you noticed yesterday, it was a little glitchy. It wasn't quite focused, and maybe it wasn't up to par as what it usually is. It was because they were trying to actually take my bandwidth. So those dorks over there trying to steal the quality of this program, but not today. I think we're getting things worked out and figured out, and it seems to be going a lot better today. So, hey, we're always growing and expanding and doing our thing. Welcome in. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We'd love to hear from you today on the ABC Recycling Hotlines. There is so much to get to today. There is tomorrow the legislative meeting here for South Central Kansas, the South Central Kansas delegation at the old courthouse at 6:30. I really, 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 really want you to show up to this. I will be there tomorrow night as well. I'll try and say a few words if I can, depending on how many people actually sign up to speak. Even if you don't speak, show up and listen to this. This is going to be extremely important for us to show up, to show our support for what needs to be, because the progressives, the left side of the aisle, they show up in groves when they to try and come. Last year they came to try and advocate for Medicaid expansion. They'll probably do the same thing again this year. Now that they have Laura Kelly in as the governor, they're probably going to be trying to advocate for the same type of agenda, either a Medicaid expansion, a higher tax rate, a more educational spending, whatever it is. You can always have, I think last year they gave you like 2 minutes, and you could say whatever you wanted to the delegation and encourage them to vote one way or another, to address certain issues one way or another, and you just have the open floor. And everybody can listen to your issues. When I went up last year and spoke about why we shouldn't have Medicaid expansion, I got a lot of boos from the crowd. It was kind of entertaining. And I think it'll be fun. So I'll be there tomorrow, but I hope you show up as well. It's going to be at the old courthouse, and it's going to be at 6:30 tomorrow. We'll have more details throughout the show for that. But I really want you to show up to this, even if it's just for moral support of our legislators, as we can encourage them to do the right thing in this legislative session. So we'll do that tomorrow. We'll do that throughout the day today. The meeting's going to be tomorrow. I'll be out there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you can join me out there as well. Coming up on the program today, it is a Tuesday, so we have Bryan Frye, Wichita City Council member, at 7:30. He'll be joining us as he does every single week now that they're back into session. I don't remember if I think they have a city council meeting today. If not, then they're still getting back into the groove of things after the holidays, so we'll chat with him. We also have Ed Bachrach. He's going to be coming on the show talking about Illinois and the fix for Chicago and how to fix it. If you remember, the state of Illinois declaring bankruptcy as a state, having extremely high tax rates in Illinois, trying to get things back under control. And how do you fix it? How you fix it is get rid of corrupt politicians in Illinois like, I don't know, what was it, Rod Blagojevich? Remember that name during the Barack Obama era? Yeah. So we'll talk with him about their latest book and how to fix the state of Illinois and how to fix Chicago coming up at 8 o'clock. Until then, though, we want to hear from you, 316-721-8255. Tonight, there is the presidential address at 8 o'clock our time to talk about the border security and his argument for the border security. I kind of laughed because there was a story about how the media, the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they may not even pick up the presidential address because many people, like the anti-Trumpers like to do, they were protesting, throwing a hissy fit, and telling them not to pick it up because we should not hear the president's side of the argument because they've already made up their minds. President Trump is evil. He's a terrible, horrible human being, and we don't even need to listen to him. We shouldn't listen to any of his side of the argument. We should only listen to the one side of the argument. And that's been their argument. So he will be making the address. I'm sure it'll be online. I'm sure the media will eventually pick it up, or they will pick it up because, that's good ratings. People are going to want to listen either to yell at him or to support him one way or another, but they will be there and they will pick it up. But they were getting pressure apparently from a lot of people saying they shouldn't actually pick up the feed. The worry is for some is that he's going to declare state of emergency in a national emergency and that he can fund the wall by appropriating money on his own, which a lot of people don't like. They say it's going to be taken to court because that's what they do. They don't like what goes on, so they throw the fit and they go and tell mommy and they go to the courts and they try and have the courts save them. And then the courts say, no, you're not allowed to do that. And all it takes, remember, is one federal judge to say, no, that's unconstitutional, not allowed to do that. And then it ends up going to the higher courts, and then we're stuck in court fighting for a long time. And as you heard maybe in the last hour, with the national news and with the news stories is, well, look at all these families. And unlike what Donald Trump said, we actually don't like the shutdown. If we're in a federal employee, we'd rather have our paychecks than actually worrying about the federal shutdown. We're really upset, and it's a very big sob story, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm sick of hearing it. You shouldn't work for the government then. Very simple. Don't work for the federal government. Don't try and go there for the federal benefits. Don't try and work for working on the public dime. Go work in the private sector. See how well that works out for you. It's a very simple solution. Don't work for the government. There was also some stories that came out on Twitter as some tried to show me, oh, Andy, if you like the government shutdown, you must love the immigration courts being shut down. Oh, Andy, if you don't like immigration, or if you like the government shutdown, you must really hate the fact that this is being shut down and this is being shut down. And I'd like to remind them that the reason they're being shut down is because Congress is deciding to shut them down. They're funded. Those programs are funded. The immigration courts are funded. The IRS is funded so you can get your tax returns. The White House office staff is funded. They can continue to work. The government's telling them not to show up because they want to make it painful. You got to remember, the reason that things actually start to be affected, you get to be affected, that if you don't receive your Social Security check, which you did this year, or this month, remind you, that you didn't receive, if you don't receive your Medicaid or Medicare benefits in February, like they're threatening to do, which I don't think is going to happen. But if they do try and threaten that, it's because they want it to be shut down, not because it needs to be shut down. Remember, only 8% of the federal government is actually unfunded right now, and none of those programs are ones that are actually unfunded. Remember as well, Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, that's in the mandatory spending category where it increases automatically. It's funded automatically. It's guaranteed by the government. It's never going to be shut down. It's never going to be affected. It increases in its spending every single year. The only things that we look at is the discretionary funding that we have to look at every single year, and this is 8% of the discretionary funding. The mandatory spending in the federal budget is automatically there. It's automatically there. It's working. It's functioning. It's been there. It's never gone away. But they look at it and they shut it down to say, oh, look, people, you should be very upset that the government shut down. I'm sick of the lies. I'm sick of you being punished because of it. I'm sick of them trying to make you feel that you're not allowed to operate, you're not allowed to live your life, you're not allowed to do what you need to do because the government is getting shut down. When the government's not shut down, it's 8% of the discretionary funding that is the FDA, the USDA, the EPA, and NASA, and a few other alphabetical soup letters where their funding is not approved. Those are the ones that should be furloughed. Those are the ones that should be shut down. And if it continues on for a longer period of time, then those agencies continue to just lay off more and more people within those agencies. Nowhere else should be affected in any way, shape, or form. But that's not the way they want it to work, because they don't want you to realize that those agencies are absolutely useless and we shouldn't need them in the first place. They don't want you to realize that your life will not be affected because the EPA is not going into the office every day. They don't want you to realize that. So instead of those departments shutting down, they turn around and say, oh, look at that. You're not going to receive your Medicaid benefits. Oh, look at this. You're not going to receive your Social Security check next month. Oh, look at this. You're not going to be able to call the White House. Oh, look at this. You're not going to be able to go to the memorials. Oh, look at this. There's trash building up at all the national parks and all the memorials in Washington, D.C. And if you want to clean them up, I guess you better go and volunteer and go pick them up yourself. And, yeah, that's just the way it's going to work because, well, we just don't have the funding for it. Excuse me? We've already had the funding for it. It's already been there. It's already been approved. That's not part of the shutdown. That's not part of the unfunded part of the federal government. And stop lying to us. But they want you to feel the heat. They want you to feel the impact. And if you are affected because you do work in those agencies, those very specific agencies, and you're upset, go find a job in the private sector. It's a very simple solution, but a lot of people don't like that. I mean, the jobs are growing. We saw manufacturing jobs on the way up. We saw the unemployment rate go extremely low under the Trump administration. We're still looking for workers all across the nation. Don't tell me you can't find a job. You just want a government job that's run and paid, your paycheck being funded by the taxpayers. That's what's the problem. But yet we just don't want to admit it, do we? Welcome in. 316-721-8255. We have all that to talk about today with Trump. By the way, I have some surprising news with Trump's announcement today. If he does declare the national emergency, it's okay. He has the absolute legal constitutional right to do so through numerous different ways. One of them that even Barack Obama started. So you know what? Hey, I guess payback's a you know what, Democrats. And if you supported Barack Obama doing it, then you have to support Donald Trump using the same authority as well that you gave Barack Obama. So we have that. We have Democrats eyeing a 33% corporate tax hike, not to a 33% level, but a 33% hike. We also have the story about who actually pays federal income taxes, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, just to let you know who actually pays the real taxes in the country and more. So we have a lot to get to today. Plus, we have some legislative stuff here at the local level, the statewide level as well. We'll try and cram as much of that in as we possibly can today. But with that, let's go to the phones, get your thoughts to kick off a Tuesday morning. Good morning to you. Line number one. Who's this?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Just fine. This is Dan.
Good morning,
hey, listen, verify something for me. I was listening to Mark Walters earlier.
Okay.
I guess you're going to be asked to stand in for him on the 12th of this month, whether you know it or not.
I was not aware of that, but all right, I guess I'll prepare for that one.
Yeah. Anyway, when you were having, I believe you were having problems with your, what is it, your ratings or your access, you were being somewhat blocked by Facebook.
Yeah, we were trying to do the Facebook Live feeds, and we kept getting banned and blocked from there. Now we're on YouTube Live, but it seems like we're almost having some issues there as well. So, yes, we've been fighting the media broadcasts online for social media as they try and say it's for copyrighted material because of the music, but we pay the licensing for the station to have the right to air that stuff. So we've also gotten the words just because we're a controversial type of content.
Right, and that brings up my comment now. This morning on Armed American Radio, they were talking about the USCCA and wanting everybody to go to Facebook and follow them there. I don't do Facebook. I wouldn't do it if somebody paid me $1,000 a day.
Sure.
But nevertheless, if you have some influence with Mark Walters and company. Why can't it be? Why can't they go to another association of some sort? Then, if they want fellowship, why can't they go somewhere else other than Facebook?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. There are a lot of organizations, conservative organizations, that do not just the Facebook to try and keep some presence there, but there are other social media organizations and outlets now that are trying to grow and trying to be out there to give that option. There's one called Mewe, MEWE, that's a very fair source. And I have an account that I started, I want to say like 6 months ago. I haven't even logged into it yet. Because it is a little bit smaller, but it is a more conservative outlet there. A lot of people are on Twitter, which Twitter does kind of ban you as well, so there's a struggle. So there are some social outlets that are trying to come out as an alternative. They just really haven't picked up any ground yet. So maybe that's an opportunity is for many of these conservative organizations to start moving towards them and see if we can't build up a base on those platforms.
Well, that would be appreciated, and I get so tired of hearing everybody saying, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook. And that's not going to happen as far as I'm concerned. But nevertheless, I'll leave that alone. My next comment is to all of these government workers where both parties in the family, both breadwinners of the family, work for the government or they work for aircraft industry companies. It's time to put away some money for an emergency fund instead of living day or week, paycheck to paycheck. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You know.
Wait. So they should play the victim, because right now it sounds like they play the victim when the government shuts down. They're not getting a paycheck. They can't survive. But when we get laid off on this end because there's higher taxes, higher regulations, they shut down businesses, the retail stores close doors, and we end up losing a job. Do they ever say, "Oh, well, look at that. Look at the poor innocent people. We should find them another job"? No, they say, "Well, you should have planned a little bit better, and you knew this was going to happen. And oh, by the way, here's a social program that you can get on, so that way the government can take care of you."
Yeah, well, it's ridiculous to hear all this whining about, not being able to feed their families and losing their houses and so on. I mean, do some planning. When I started my careers over 40 years ago, it was up to me to put back that emergency fund.
Sure. No, that's great. Very true. Dan, I appreciate that. We got to take a break here, but you're absolutely right. I don't remember these types of stories from the media when Bill Clinton shut down the government. I don't remember these stories when George W. Bush shut down the government. I really don't remember these types of sob stories when Barack Obama shut down the government. Now, granted, it wasn't as long. Donald Trump right now has had the third longest shutdown in American history, but so what? So what? Again, it's not a shutdown. It's a correction. We got to remember the terming here, and I'm going to try and recreate the phraseology. with this quote-unquote government shutdown, because it's not a shutdown. It is a correction. It's non-essential personnel that's being furloughed right now for 8% of the unfunded branch of the government. 8% of the federal government right now that's being unfunded, that we have furloughed workers and we have non-essential personnel not showing up. If they're non-essential, they don't need to be there in the first place. Time for you to find a job in the private sector. And if you're being furloughed and you don't like it, then, welcome to the struggles we have in the private sector when you shut businesses down, because your regulations that you created ended up affecting the private side anyway. So good luck, and if you don't like it, go find a job in the private sector. I have no sympathy in any way, shape, or form. And yes, maybe you should budget and plan just a little bit ahead of time as well, like everybody else is supposed to do when we lose our jobs in the private sector. Got to take a break. Good Tuesday morning to you. 25 minutes past the hour. This is the Voice of Reason. Stay right here. Lots to get to today.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Ag News, Mid-America Ag Network. I'm Craig Mead. Good morning. Well, the Pork Checkoff Service Center fields calls from consumers and producers alike. National Pork Board spokesperson Cindy Cunningham says the Pork Checkoff Service Center is a tremendous resource.
From consumer calls in the past year, it's really interesting the calls that we get, and we're happy to respond to these. Things like how to cook a pork loin, and is it safe to eat pork that's been left out on the counter overnight? These are actual questions that we get from consumers. We know consumers need to understand how they can enjoy pork as part of a healthy diet, and we want to make sure that we can help them and be there to provide those answers. From a production standpoint, it's a great place for our producers to turn who have a quick question about anything related to pork production, whether it is a disease situation. Clearly, we want them working with their veterinarian. But if they just have a quick question, or whether it is a new production research that they're interested in, or finding out more about something that's happening in production in their area, all they have to do is give the Pork Checkoff Service Center a quick call, and they will be connected with an expert in that area to answer those questions.
The Pork Checkoff Service Center was able to help numerous consumers and pig farmers over the last year and looks forward to serving them again in 2019.
To get to the Pork Checkoff Service Center, all you have to do is dial 800-456-7675. Again, that number for the Pork Checkoff Service Center, 800-456-7675. And, of course, pork.org is a great website which contains everything from recipes to production information. But if you do need to talk with someone about your question about pork or pork-related topics, just give that Pork Checkoff Service Center a call at 800-456-7675.
Ag News, Mid-America Ag Network.
Whatever your business, count on EMC Insurance, because our business is protecting your business. EMC Insurance Companies has the knowledge and expertise to provide you with the right insurance coverage options. And when you insure your business with EMC, you receive the added value of our free loss control services, no matter the size of your company. Contact your local independent insurance agent and ask about insurance from EMC. In Newton, call Fuquay Insurance at 283-0800.
Wichita Family Dental knows there's some things in life that you just have to wait for.
Is this light ever gonna turn green?
But when you're feeling dental pain, getting relief shouldn't be something you have to wait for.
'Cause I haven't got time for the pain.
At Wichita Family Dental, if you've got pain this morning and call before noon, you'll be seen today, guaranteed. Wichita Family Dental, East and West. Call 263-GRIN. That's 263-GRIN.
This is John Sidoric with JD Aviation Services at the Augusta Airport. There's no doubt that vehicle maintenance is important on the roadways, and proper aircraft maintenance is even more important. Since JD Aviation Services opened its doors, we've received many new customers through recommendations of current customers. So this is your formal invitation to make JD Aviation Services of Augusta your aircraft maintenance partner. Learn more at iflyaugusta.com.
It's your boy Joe Pags, live after Dave Ramsey, right here on the Big Talker, KQAM.
back into the Voice of Reason. Good Tuesday morning to you. 29 minutes past the hour. We have the bottom of the hour news coming up in just a minute. But, welcome in. Great to have you along today. 316-721-8255. There's a few different freshman elected officials, congressmen and women at the federal level who said that they will not receive or will not take a paycheck during the shutdown because they don't feel it's right for them to be paid when other government officials aren't getting paid. My question is one of them going to be AOC because she's the one that said it's not right? But then I thought of the fact that, she just got in there and she was waiting for her first paycheck in order to pay for the rent for her new apartment in D.C. that she threw a fit about. So I doubt she's going to be one that doesn't accept her paycheck because she kind of needs the money, right? The hypocrisy bleeds out already, isn't it? Bottom of the hour news coming up. Stay right here. This is The Voice of Reason.
Now back to the KQAM News Desk.
U.S.-led coalition warplanes and artillery are pounding a village held by the Islamic State group in the last area they hold in eastern Syria. Today's bombardment of the village of Shafa comes a day after nearly 24 U.S.-backed fighters were reportedly killed in the area. President Trump will speak to the nation tonight at 9 Eastern Time, a formal address from the Oval Office. Mr. Trump will say there is a crisis at the southern border that requires a wall. Day 18 of the partial government shutdown over the wall, and Renee Marsh reports the TSA is having to handle airport security with fewer agents on the job.
The head of the TSA, David Pekoski, vowed that the level of security would not change and that he wants to be transparent with the American public about the sick calls and how it may impact their travel so that they know how much time that they would need to get through the security checkpoint.
Former GOP Congressman Ron DeSantis will be sworn in as Florida's new governor this morning. Stock futures showing robust gains ahead of Wall Street's opening bell. I'm Michael Toscano.
At CarMax, when we say we buy all the cars, we mean it. Over the last 20 years, we've purchased millions of cars from coast to coast. In the last year alone, we've bought a mountain of Mercurys, an armada of Nissans, a ton of Titans, an ocean of Pacificas, and a sea of Siennas. Not to mention a few Hellcats and a couple of Tornadoes. So no matter what you're selling, CarMax is buying. And we'll buy your car even if you don't buy ours. CarMax, we buy all the cars.
Today, business happens here, and virtually anywhere. Because today, innovative companies are reinventing the way business happens. And they need people who can keep up. With the expertise and technology to get packages to over 150 million delivery points. So, who can help you deliver the future of commerce? The United States Postal Service. See why we deliver more e-commerce packages to homes than anyone at USPS.com/future.
Kansas Mid-America Network News. Good Tuesday. A 31-year-old white man from Wichita accused of kicking a 1-year-old black boy and shouting racial slurs in a Dillon store has been charged with attempted aggravated battery. Trace Riff made his first court appearance yesterday after being charged in the December 23rd incident. Witnesses told police the boy was holding his 11-year-old sister's hand when Riff kicked him. The toddler was not injured in the incident. Shady telemarketers would face a tougher time operating in the Sunflower State under a new bill. Incoming Republican Representative Bill Riley of Wellington says he has pre-filed the bill after getting complaints about calls that appear to be from Kansas, but instead are automated sales pitches from telemarketers in other states or overseas. Wichita Eagle reports the bill would set limits on the use of robocalling equipment and crack down on, quote, neighbor spoofing in telemarketing calls. I'm Rick Everett with Kansas Mid-America Network News.
Professional excavators and homeowners, safety always comes first, and safe digging is no accident. So before you begin your next digging project, remember to call Kansas 811 to have your underground utility lines marked for free. Know what's below. Call 811 before you dig. So play it safe. Put down the shovel, pick up the phone, and call 811 first. This message is brought to you by Kansas 811, reminding you that no matter if your digging project is big or small, don't make a judgment call. Always call 811 before you dig.
Mark Collier at Collier Allstate knows mayhem can happen at any time in Kansas. Whether you live in the city, one of Kansas's great small towns, or out in the Great Plains, Mark and Allstate will protect you from the effects of mayhem. Home, health, life, or business, Mark and his great staff will help you find the best protection. Mayhem is guaranteed to come. Let the Mark Collier Agency help you through it. Mark Collier, the Collier Agency, 204 North Main in Goddard. Give them a call at 316-413-4014 and on Facebook at Call Your Allstate.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker KQAM for this morning. Sunny and windy, high around 52, clear and 27 tonight. Tomorrow, sunny and 48, partly cloudy and 30 for tomorrow night, partly sunny and 46 on Thursday, chance of rain and snow on Friday. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 6:34, it's currently 44 degrees.
Call the Voice of Reason now on the ABC Recycling phone lines at 721-8255. This is the Big Talker, KQAM. Andy never shies away from a fight.
Just you try it.
Oh, I'll try it.
Just you try it.
You'll feel it when I try it.
Oh, I'd like to see you have at it.
Would you now?
And now's your chance to jump in the ring.
Are you insane?
Give Andy a call at 316-721-8255. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome back into the Voice of Reason. 35 minutes past the hour. Good morning to you. It's a Tuesday morning. It is the post of Monday. We're rocking along here, just advancing conservatism, doing our thing. Usually about 98% sure of our gender identification on a regular basis. Welcome in 316-721-8255. Give us a call on the ABC Recycling hotlines. We'd love to hear from you. This half hour of the Voice of Reason brought to you by Lamar's Donuts and Coffee Shop. Be a rock star today on your way to work. Pick up a dozen donuts from Lamar's. It's a great way to start each and every morning. I know today you're going to start feeling the burn today and tomorrow because, well, you know, it's been the holidays. You haven't really gone through a full 5-day cycle in a while. You're going to start feeling it. Today's a day to keep it going, baby, with some Lamar's Donuts. 3 locations in town, one just south of Rock and K96, one at Tyler and Mays, the other on Harry on the east side of Hillside. Try them. You'll definitely like them. It's Lamar's Donuts and Coffee Shop online at lamars.com. 316-721-8255. There are, as we mentioned, there are a few freshman congressmen and women wanting to not collect a paycheck because of the whole government shutdown deal. And I think, here's my advocation. Number one, that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez should not receive a paycheck because she's been very vocal saying that it's not right to receive a paycheck in Congress if the government shut down and federal workers are not collecting one as well. I know that you have rent to pay, apparently. I know that you complained you were the victim. You're the victim of increase of cost of living because of high taxes and high regulation, all that other garbage, and stuff that your ideology has actually promoted and allowed to happen. But you should not collect a paycheck. You should probably live in your office. A few others have done so as well. For the 93 freshman lawmakers sworn in last week, one of their first official acts in Congress was indefinitely delaying their paycheck and keeping the previous government shutdowns. Dozens of lawmakers are voluntarily refusing or donating their pay as long as any part of the federal bureaucracy remains shuttered, and members are not being shy about joining them. Here's what we should also do. Sharice Davids, 3rd Congressional District, you should not receive a federal paycheck because of the comments that you made lately with the interviews. Now, here's what I think. I think all Democrats in the House of Representatives should not receive a paycheck. The reason I'm being partisan there, maybe not even partisan, anybody who voted against border security should not receive a paycheck. Here's my reasoning for it. Number one, if you're the only chamber that's actually blocking and obstructing, then you're the ones blocking and obstructing and you're not doing your job as the duty of an elected official in the federal government to actually take care of the nation and fund border security and build a wall and do what's necessary for the security of our nation. You should have that duty. You swore on the Constitution that you would uphold and defend the Constitution. The Constitution says that we must have a strong nation. A strong nation means that we should have solid borders and we should have a border security for national security reasons. And if you don't support that, you should not be receiving a paycheck because you're not doing your job. So any Democrat or Republican in the House of Representatives that is voting against border security should not receive a paycheck. Pure and simple. I mean, that's it. Come on. Republicans should, because they're actually trying to make this happen. They should continue to, conservative Republicans, let me put it that way, should continue to receive payment because they're trying. They're working It's just unable to happen. I know you got tired of hearing this before, but it's time we take back the House of Representatives. I know we got 2 years to do this, but we need to take back the House of Representatives to get anything done. So I'm waiting to see which ones on a laundry list are actually going to be donating their paycheck. I highly doubt Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will be doing so, as she said she wanted to at first, and now she has to pay for her rent in Washington, D.C., and it's going to be very difficult, and it's very tough, and now she's going to be making money, and she's not going to want to give that up because she's a liberal progressive who now has tasted the sweet flavor of power and greed in the government. And she's advocating for a 70% tax rate for businesses and corporations. Yeah, there's a problem there. Then you got someone like Sharice Davids, our newly elected Democrat from the 3rd Congressional District to beat Kevin Yoder, who sat down with NPR as of yesterday and made a few comments about the government shutdown. And being the Native American that she is, focused on the Native American side of this that I'm confused about. Now, I'm not an expert on Native American law or how the tribal lands actually work. I know that they're federally funded for the most part, but they're also sovereign, almost sovereign nations to their own. They're sovereign land where they can kind of do what they will with federal aid at the same time. But being a Native American, actually being a tribal card member of, I forget whatever tribe she's from, she sat down with NPR, and I'm going to try and get her on the show. I don't know if we're going to be able to get her on the program or not. I'm going to try and get her on the show and interview her. Probably not going to like me very much, though, because she likes the more monotone drolling on of NPR. And there's a new congresswoman who just recently got elected in Kansas, and she speaks on the government shutdown. I don't know who can listen to that government-funded radio, but nonetheless, my competitors, so I'll be friendly. Sharice Davids sat down with NPR yesterday and talked about how the government shutdown is affecting the Native American tribes.
Well, the shutdown directly impacts tribes in a number of different ways. You actually already mentioned a couple of them. I spoke with one tribal leader who said that they actually lost a tribal member because they were unable to plow the roads so that an emergency service vehicle could get to him in time. Literally, lives are at stake because the federal government is not up and running in the way that it's supposed to be.
Wait, what? What? What are you talking about? Now, I tried to search that story about a tribe here in Kansas that lost a tribal member because they did not have plowed roads in order to get to where they needed to be. Now, it may not be in Kansas because we haven't had snow in Kansas. It may have been elsewhere. It may have been, I don't know, Oklahoma or somewhere else. I don't know, but I tried to search. I tried to Google. I tried to look for any type of story of a Native American tribal person that died because the plows could not reach their home. And maybe they're just not reporting on it. But that brings up a few questions to me. Number one, are we truly, and maybe this goes into how funding works with the federal government and with tribes in the country. I don't know. And I will claim naiveness on that one. But you're telling me that there is no funds that were set aside for a plow to go down a road in order to get somebody during emergency or keep the roads open to some degree because the government's been shut down for like 18 days. I'm smelling a fish here. I'm smelling something that stinks. I'm smelling some fishiness going on here because I'm pretty sure that an 18-day government shutdown did not all of a sudden cease and desist any type of plows from actually keeping the road somewhat open. First off, the majority of plows that are done at the statewide level. Any type of road maintenance is predominantly done at the statewide level. I'm not sure why there would be funding from a federal level, except for a few grants and aids and that sort of thing. But that you would think would already have been paid out. And for 18 days, you're telling me that they didn't have any funds. It was all depleted. It was all dried up. Now, maybe for a Native American tribe and a sovereign nation, quote unquote, that's all from the federal government. Fine, okay. But because of the last 18 days, they didn't have their funding. So according to Sharice Davids, lives are literally at stake because of the lack of federal funding on a department that, by the way, isn't even affected. Department of Transportation is not part of the 8% of the unfunded government right now. But the lives are literally at stake because the government's been shut down for 18 days, the third longest or whatever it is in the country, however many days it's been. I know we're right around that 18-day march. I think I heard that. Whatever. Doesn't matter. For 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're shut down. And the panic. And now they're going to try and lump it up and say, well, there was someone who died on a Native American tribe, a tribal card member, because they couldn't get the plows there. So no one had a plow on the front of their pickup truck. Show of hands. How many people actually have a plow that you can put on the front of your pickup truck? My dad did. And we lived on a county road, and my dad would have to plow it himself because the county would not do it very often because there were so many dirt county roads up in the mountains. So he would get his plow, and he would do it himself. Maybe somebody doesn't have that. Okay, I'll give him granted for that. Maybe somebody doesn't have that. I'm pretty sure that if you had a big old pickup truck, somebody would probably have some type of plow. But you're telling me there are zero funds in any way, shape, or form from federal money coming in to actually have a plow go down a road because of an 18-day government shutdown. Give me a break. And the NPR lady, oh my gosh, it's so sad and terrible. I mean, it's sad, but that's what you're going to blame it on? That's what you're going to blame it on?
Well, the shutdown directly impacts tribes in a number of different ways. You actually already mentioned a couple of them. I spoke with one tribal leader who said that they actually lost a tribal member because they were unable to plow the roads so that an emergency service vehicle could get to him in time. Literally, lives are at stake because the federal government is not up and running in the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, federal government's not up and running the way it's supposed to be. Everything should be the federal government. The federal government should be that end-all, be-all. They should be taking care of everybody, and because of 10 days, 18 days, 15 days, 20 days, 30 days of a government shutdown, then all hell breaks loose. The entire society begins to crumble, and people die because we can't get to them from plowing a road. This is unbelievable. This is our newly elected Congresswoman in the 3rd Congressional District with Sharice Davids. Now, they did want to ask her about the compromise. Would you, because of this, because of the fact that things aren't working the way they should be, because the government should be open and functioning the way it needs to be, and because there's a blockade right now on the obstructionists, are you willing to compromise on border security funding and give President Trump the money in order to reopen the government? A legit question. Her response?
Well, we actually did just vote to use federal funding levels that have been approved on the Senate side in a bipartisan way. And in my view, the House Democrats coming in and passing a bill that has had Republican support previously is exactly the kind of bipartisan thing we need to be doing. And, my hope is that the president recognizes what's at stake and will sign a bill to get the federal government back open.
I don't think I heard a compromise on that, saying, yes, I will compromise. What I did hear was, well, this is a bill that didn't have border security in it, and some Republicans supported it, so President Trump just needs to understand he's in the wrong and get on board with what we're doing. And, oh, by the way, the Senate needs to do the same thing because we're the House of Representatives. We have a Democrat majority, and even though we only own one portion of one branch of federal government, we should have dominant control, and you should just get on board with what we're doing because we supported a bill that some Republicans that are wishy-washy that support Democrat liberal policies in the first place anyways, they supported it as well, so it was a bipartisan effort, and therefore rest of Republicans better get on board, and President Trump better learn the error of his ways. That's what I just heard in that. Did you not? Maybe you heard something different. Finally, about her job and when she can actually start doing her job because the government can reopen again.
I wouldn't have run for office if I wasn't an optimistic person. I'm a realistic, optimistic person, though. So my hope is that we don't have to see a lot of people suffering the effects, the negative impacts of a government shutdown before folks are willing to acknowledge and recognize that the vast majority of people are not interested or don't deem a wall to be a good use of our taxpayer resources, and that, we can come together, get the federal government back up and running so that everyone who is sitting in Congress can come forward with the things that they know their constituents want them to be working on.
Mm-hmm. Well, we just need to open it up and President Trump get on board with that, dude. We got stuff to do like, increase tax rates and punish corporations and try and expand spending and try and take over the green energy and try and take over the industrial side and try and take over residential and commercial industry because, that's just what government needs to do, and we need to open up so we can actually do that. Come on, President Trump. Come on, Republicans. Boy, oh boy, we really picked a good one there in the 3rd District, didn't we? 316-721-8255. Let's go to the ABC Recycling Hotlines. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning.
What's going on?
Mark. I hope that Little Miss Voice of Reason had a great Christmas.
Oh, she had a fantastic time. Thank you for asking. She enjoyed so much.
Hey, was reading through some of the Foundations of Freedom again, And there was a point that Thomas Paine and a few others had made about hierarchy and how when hierarchy starts to set themselves apart from the common man, then hierarchy is essentially setting themselves up to be the future ruling class with no end in sight.
That's very true. That's a fantastic point. And someone who, for example, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who says she's from the people, she was a bartender, she has a great success story of being an average person to becoming an elected official, now wanting to tax people at a 70% rate, now enjoying the pleasures of the power that she's given as a congresswoman now. She is very quickly turning from the we want to be fighting for the people to, oh, let's punish everybody because I'm now part of the ruling class and I can do better by delegating.
Yep. Couple more points. Under Ronald Reagan, law enforcement, fire, EMS, they can't strike. They can't not show up to work.
Sure.
So the tribal member who may have died, it was not because of the lack of services.
Sure.
Also, on her comment, she said that they were unable to get the road cleared. Not that we didn't have it, somebody wasn't there to run it.
Right.
We were unable.
Sure.
That's a really vague comment. Last point,
yeah.
Remember, statistics are like bikinis. What they reveal is suggestive. What they hide are vital.
I like that. I've never heard that one before. I like it. Hey, Mark, appreciate it. Happy New Year, too, my friend. Absolutely great points. No, you're right. No, what happened was a tribal member died during the time of the shutdown, so they blamed the shutdown because of that. That's what they're trying to say, because she's trying to show that literally, as she said, literally, lives are at stake because the government's not functioning the way it should be. Literally. Now, there's nobody that has not received a Social Security paycheck. There's nobody who has not received a food stamp yet. There's nobody who has not received a government social program yet. And they say that this will be affected if it goes into February. They will say that the tax returns will be delayed if we don't reopen the government here soon. And it's not because those portions of the government are not funded, but it's because they want them to be shut down, so you will be affected. But this year, somebody died. It was during the shutdown. I guess it was the government's fault because the government should have been there to take care of them. Apparently, they wanted like Air Force One or some type of EPA green energy helicopter to fly above the house to grab the individual because they couldn't clear the road. So apparently the EPA, because they weren't open and their green alternative energy helicopter wasn't there to save the day, that apparently it was the government's fault. I don't know. I'm still trying to find the story on that one. But the road wasn't able to be cleared, and someone died, and therefore it was the government's fault because 18 days of not funding, apparently the Department of Transportation for the tribe in their sovereign land was not allowing a truck to actually get to where they needed to be. Unbelievable. This is the scare tactic they use, and it's sad and pathetic that an elected congresswoman, an elected official in Kansas, is lying on an NPR interview right on the radio for the public to hear because she's trying to create that fear tactic in the state of Kansas and for the people worried about a government shutdown. That's what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen, which is why we have a lot of work to do for our 2019 and 2020 elections coming up in just a year and a half. Got to take a break. 7 minutes at the top of the hour. Your phone calls when we come out. We got a lot to get to today. It's going to be a fun show. I do have some stories about the executive order that's gone through before and what President Trump can do during a state of national emergency if he chooses to declare one for the border and national security. We have women. Are there less women in our state legislature compared to before? And is that an issue? Is that a problem? Plus all the women that were in the legislature that ended up swapping political parties because the Republicans are just too extreme. All that and more coming up on the show today. It is a Tuesday right here on The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Market information, Mid-America Ag Network. Monday was a mixed day in our agriculture future markets. We saw some ups and downs all through the day. Unfortunately, corn and Kansas City wheat finished lower on the day. March KC wheat down 3 at 503. May was down 3 at 514 and a half. It just was not a good day for any of the wheat markets. Chicago and Minneapolis finished lower too. March corn down 3/4 at 382 1/4. May down 3/4 at 390 1/4. So that was not as positive as we would have hoped at the end of the day. January soybeans up 2 3/4 at 912 1/4. March beans up 2 3/4 at 924 1/4. The products were split. Soybean meal was up, soy oil was down. January bean meal at $3.1820, up $3.10. March bean meal was at $3.2220, up $3.20. While January soy oil 15 points lower at $28.26. March was down 13 points at $28.51. So we saw mixed numbers within the soy complex, and the beans were up, but the corn and Kansas City wheat were lower. So mixed numbers for our grains and soybeans on Monday. Mixed numbers in livestock as well. Cattle were higher, hogs were lower. February live cattle up 127 at 123.20. April up 107 at 125.07. Each of the later months was green. January feeder cattle up $1.10 at 146. March feeders up 107 at 143.90. So everything was looking good for cattle because each of the feeder cattle months was also in the green. Hogs were the sticking point here. February hogs at 61.90, down a nickel. April hogs at 66.37 at the end of the day, down 37. So not a good day for hogs, but it was a good finish for cattle on Monday. Cotton was up. March cotton up 23 points at 72.75. May was up 16 points at 74.10. So mixed numbers all through the ag futures markets on Monday. Update from Mid-America Ag Network.
Attention, co-op members. In conjunction with Countryside Motors in Wellington, all co-op members and their families qualify for additional rebates on Chevrolet, Buick, Hustler turf equipment, and Polaris vehicles. This exclusive fleet rebate program is only being offered by Countryside Motors in Wellington, Kansas. Offers are not being published to the general public. They are available to co-op members in Kansas or Oklahoma. For full details, contact Countryside Motors in Wellington at 620-326-7433 or online at countrysidemotors.net.
Wichita RV is celebrating its 30th year anniversary by bringing you the Wichita RV and Outdoor Show January 16th through the 20th at Hartman Arena. Don't be fooled by pretenders. Shop this year's Wichita RV and Outdoor Show and take advantage of the best savings of the year on a huge selection of new and used RVs in every price range. Great deals and special financing only during the show. Free admission for military, first responders, and children under 12. Wichita RV and Outdoor Show at Hartman Arena January 16th to the 20th. ABC Recycling is a full-service recycling company with a long-time service to our community. Whether you're an individual or a company that encounters or produces scrap metal, the team at ABC can provide you with an easy and profitable recycling program that's fair and honorable because that's how they do business. ABC will customize a recycling program that fits your unique needs. Let us make your space cleaner, nicer for the environment, and all with a better bottom line. Visit us just west of Hydraulic and Gilbert or abcrecyclingllc.com.
Whatever your business, count on EMC Insurance because our business is protecting your business. EMC Insurance Companies has the knowledge and expertise to provide you with the right insurance coverage options. And when you insure your business with EMC, you receive the added value of our free loss control services, no matter the size of your company. Contact your local independent insurance agent and ask about insurance from EMC. In Wichita, call Signature Select at 266-6203.
I'm America's Digital Pro, Kim Commando. Join me Sundays 11 to 2 right here on the Big Talker, KQAM. Now back to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Well, we actually did just vote to use federal funding levels that have been approved on the Senate side in a bipartisan way. And in my view, the House Democrats coming in and passing a bill that has had Republican support previously is exactly the kind of bipartisan thing we need to be doing. And, my hope is that the president recognizes what's at stake and will sign a bill to get the federal government back open.
There it is. That's Sharice Davids from an interview from NPR yesterday as she talked about the compromise that she's willing to do. Yeah, we compromised. We got a bipartisan bill that we supported in the past, and the president better just get on board with it. No, we're not going to fund border security, so you need to get on board with us because we control one chamber of one branch of government, and therefore you need to listen to us. Because we're going to stop everything you want to do. And no, you're not going to fund border security. We're not going to allow that. And oh, by the way, somebody died because, it's been shut down for 10 days, 18 days, and it's your fault. Yeah, that's what we're up against. That's the lack of compromise we're going to see from the left right here. More of this when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Mike here at Rusty Eck Ford with some exciting news. Our year-end offer is now extended till January 31st. That means you can still come pick out a new Ford and make no payments till 2020. That's right, drive it for all of 2019 and make no payments until 2020. Check out our nice selection at rustyeckford.com or come in person and take a look. When you decide, we'll set it up with no payments till 2020. Hey, it's a new year and you can have a happy new car. New cars, trucks, or SUVs with no payments till 2020 through January 31st. This offer is only available at Rusty Eck Ford in Wichita Town East and Kellogg. We're Rusty Eck Ford proud. Dealer retains rebates, Ford credit, interest accrues from date of sale. All negative equity paid in full. Max payment assistance up to $500. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Come visit us at Rusty Eck Ford or go to rustyeckford.com.
This is a Steckline Communications station, K273CX, FM 102.5, and AM 1480 KQAM, Wichita proud. It's time for your latest news from the KQAM News Center. Brought to you by MJ's Truck Repair of Mound Ridge, Kansas. Sales and service of the big rigs and trailers, plus ag diesel equipment repair on and off the farm.
Good Tuesday morning. For nearly 11 months now, a committee of volunteers have weighed options about the future of Wichita's Century 2. Committee members said they found significant damage to the roof, leaks around the HVAC system, air conditioning that needed to be repaired, and asbestos issues inside the building. KTV reports the committee hasn't yet decided to recommend Century 2 be renovated or replaced. Either option, some estimate, could cost nearly $200 million. The committee is expecting to have a final recommendation to the Wichita City Council within the next 6 to 8 weeks. Wichita police have arrested 2 additional male suspects in connection to a December convenience store robbery that left one suspect dead after being shot by a customer. Around 7 o'clock Saturday evening, officers conducted a traffic stop in the 200 block of North Edgemore and arrested the 17 and 16-year-old males without incident. Both were booked into juvenile detention on robbery and drug charges. Wichita police yesterday afternoon investigated an accidental shooting in a vehicle in the area of 37th Street North and Rock Road. Police say around 12:45, a person in a car was trying to put a firearm into a holster, and in doing so, the gun accidentally discharged, striking the person. Paramedics took the person to the hospital to be treated for injuries. KWCH-TV reports the injuries are not considered to be life-threatening. An Ohio professor is alleging in a lawsuit that Wichita State University retracted an employment offer after she told them she was pregnant. The Wichita Eagle reports that Evangeline Heiliger says that she revealed her pregnancy for the first time and asked about child care back in March when she was offered a tenure-track job as the assistant professor of women's studies. And area forecasters say we can look for a cooling trend for the middle of the week, but temperatures will stay above normal averages. I'm Rick Everett with news. Now with sports, Doug Downs.
For the first time since the college football playoffs have started, a team went 15-0 and won a national championship. That was the Clemson Tigers after their big win over Alabama last night, 44-16, to wrap up the college football season. Former Wichita State player Ron Baker's time in the NBA is over once again. The Washington Wizards released Baker yesterday before his contract was due to be guaranteed. Baker was released by the Knicks earlier this year. The Wichita State Shocker baseball program has a new pitching coach. It is former Major League star and former Shocker Mike Pelfrey. From the sports desk, I'm Doug Downs.
The Laundry Station in Wichita is Kansas' premier laundry services provider. The Laundry Station has machines for all of your needs in the Wichita area. In fact, the largest machine can handle 10 loads at a time. Imagine a laundry facility where you don't need change. The Laundry Station accepts Apple Pay, debit cards, and credit cards, and your quarters as well. The Laundry Station is conveniently located in the heart of Wichita, on Oliver at Kellogg. The Laundry Station, and online at thelaundrystationks.com.
If you're a contractor
or a do-it-yourselfer,
you owe it to yourself to shop Croft Lumber of Heston.
Of course there's lumber.
And there's roofing and siding.
And the renowned custom cupboard cabinets.
Drywall and insulation. Just price Croft Lumber of Heston.
Chances are, if you price Croft Lumber, you'll be done shopping.
And free delivery within 50 miles. Croft Lumber of Heston. 800-736-4951. 800-736-4951. Online at kropflumber.com. A DUI can literally stop a person and their vehicle in its tracks. If you know someone who's gotten a nudge from the judge and their vehicle can't budge without an ignition interlock device, the next right move is Just Right Auto Repair. Just Right Auto Repair at 4312 West Central is Wichita's Intoxilock Ignition Interlock Installation Specialist. Intoxilock is the preferred device of choice among customers and monitoring authorities. Make your vehicle just right in the Quartz site. Just Right Auto Repair, your Intoxilock Ignition Interlock Installation Specialist.
Here's the latest from the KQAM News Center.
U.S.-led coalition warplanes and artillery are pounding a village held by the Islamic State group in the last area they hold in eastern Syria. Today's bombardment of the village of Shafa comes a day after nearly 24 U.S.-backed fighters were reportedly killed in the area. President Trump will speak to the nation tonight at 9 Eastern Time, a formal address from the Oval Office. Mr. Trump will say there is a crisis at the southern border that requires a wall. Day 18 of the partial government shutdown over the wall, and Renee Marsh reports the TSA is having to handle airport security with fewer agents on the job.
The head of the TSA, David Pekoski, vowed that the level of security would not change and that he wants to be transparent with the American public about the sick calls and how it may impact their travel so that they know how much time that they would need to get through the security checkpoint.
Former GOP Congressman Ron DeSantis will be sworn in as Florida's new governor this morning. Stock futures showing robust gains ahead of Wall Street's opening bell. I'm Michael Toscano.
Your local weather on KQAM. Brought to you by Derby Mattress. No dancing animals, no gimmicks. Your locally owned hometown mattress store at 105 South Baltimore in Derby.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker KQAM for this morning. Sunny and windy, high around 52, clear and 27 tonight. Tomorrow, sunny and 48, partly cloudy and 30 for tomorrow night, partly sunny and 46 on Thursday, chance of rain and snow on Friday. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 7:06, it's currently 44 degrees.
It's news talk on the web, like the KQAM Facebook page today. This is the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM. It's time for Reason.
The fact of the matter is that a free market, free enterprise style of education means that you had the choice as a parent to take your kids where you feel they're going to get their best education. And that holds the school accountable to have a higher standard because they need to compete with other schools in order for you to actually want to take your children there, not to be forced to take your children there. It's kind of like the healthcare industry.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. It's hour number 2 of the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. We are simulcasting all over the place, no matter where you may want to listen to on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. We're on YouTube, youtube.com. Find KQAM Radio. Subscribe to the page. Watch us live each and every day there. We're also on the TuneIn app. Find KQAM Radio on TuneIn. We're on KQAMradio.com, streaming live there. We're all over the place. You can't miss us. Just find us somewhere. If not, then what the heck's wrong with you, man? Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Give us a call on our ABC Recycling hotlines. We'd love to hear from you today. What's on your mind? This half hour, the broadcast is brought to you by Countryside Motors. Countryside Motors is a short drive down the turnpike for big savings. Make sure to check out their Buick and Chevy cars and trucks, along with the Polaris and Hustler ATV and turf equipment. Yeah, baby, it's not just vehicles, but it's actually ATVs and off-road stuff as well. Countryside Motors in Wellington, Kansas, just a little bit south of us here. Online at countrysidemotors.net. Countrysidemotors.net. We appreciate them partnering up with us here on The Voice of Reason. Coming up in about 30 minutes, we have Bryan Frye, Wichita City Council member, coming back on the show. It's been a while since we've got to chat with him. Now that we're into the new year, the holidays are all said and done, and back at it at the citywide level. There's a lot of things that are going to happen at the city level here relatively soon, so we'll talk about all the updates going on there as well. In the 8 o'clock hour, we have an individual by the name of Ed Bachrach. He's coming on the show. with his latest book, The New Chicago Way, how to fix the state of Illinois, how to fix Chicago, and how to start weeding out some of the establishment corrupt politicians going on there. As you know, one of the few states that's actually declared bankruptcy on itself. It has higher tax rates, and it's all because of the benefits, the Cadillac package benefits from the state workers, state-employed workers that are bankrupting the state of Illinois. And we could probably take that lesson into what's going on at the federal level as well, along with what's happening here in the state of Kansas as well. So we have all that going on today on the program. Until then, though, we'd love to hear from you as well. Tomorrow, we have our legislative delegation, our legislative meeting at 6:30 at the old courthouse. We'll have more information on that throughout the show, but definitely show up. You can talk to your elected official. This is the time where the progressives love to show up en masse and advocate for their Medicaid expansion, which you know they're going to do this year because of the fact that, well, you know, we have a Democrat governor that wants to expand Medicaid. So it's our duty to show up as well, to have a voice, to let the elected officials know that there is a voice out there of conservatism, of reason, of common sense, and we'll be there actually I will be there tomorrow night. I will be making a few statements if I can, get onto the speaking list. Whether you want to speak or not, just show up, show your support, and let's actually show up en masse to show that there are some commonsensical people in the South Central Kansas. It's not just Wichita or Sedgwick County, but it's the entire South Central Kansas delegation, this whole area around here. So if you're in the area, if you're within listening range of these airwaves, then you need to show up to this and make your voice heard. 316-721-8255. But I want to spend some time just briefly. I know that we have a lot of statewide issues to get to, and I really do want to focus on them. But there's something that we need to address tonight. As you know, President Donald Trump going to be making his announcement at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock our time, on his case for border security, the government being still shut down, the Democrats not wanting to work with us. I mean, we have Sharice Davids that did the NPR interview yesterday talking about her view of compromise on this whole issue.
Well, you know, we actually did just vote to use federal funding levels that have been approved on the Senate side in a bipartisan way. And in my view, the House Democrats coming in and passing a bill that has had Republican support previously is exactly the kind of bipartisan thing we need to be doing. And, you know, my hope is that the president recognizes what's at stake and will sign a bill to get the federal government back open.
There it is. So her view of compromise as well. We signed a bill that was done bipartisanly before with moderate Republicans and Democrats, and therefore President Trump just needs to get on board and sign that one, even though it's missing the one thing that he's actually demanding, which is actually border security and that $5 billion for the wall. So your view of compromise, even though you want to get back to work, you tried to create the scare tactic that someone died during the time of the government shutdown. And you're very concerned that the government's not operating the way it needs to. You want to open it up, but you wanted to open it up on your terms, not on his term, and that's a view of compromise in the eyes of Democrats. And this is our newly elected Congresswoman from the Kansas's 3rd Congressional District, Ms. Sharice Davids. So we have that, and now President Trump is threatening to declare a national emergency and do it on his own. And a lot of people said, well, he can try that, but it's going to be taken to court because, you know, the Democrats, whenever they do something, we do something they don't like, what do? They run to mommy and daddy, and we're going to threaten you to go to court. We're going to stop you. All it takes is one federal judge to come out and say, no, unconstitutional. Then you go to the higher courts. You eventually go to the Supreme Court, and everything's just blocked and everything stops because it takes one federal judge anywhere in the nation, usually in the 11th district, where near the California area, where someone says, nope, you're not allowed to do that because I have the power to stop you. That shouldn't be the case, but that's the way it works, and then everything gets blocked up in court. In the meantime, though, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because in the meantime, the government is, quote-unquote, still shut down. We call it a government correction here on the show because it is a correction. Non-essential personnel that's actually not working, that's okay. The agencies that aren't taking away rights, that's okay. Then they try and pawn it off to other agencies that aren't even being affected by the lack of funding that's not been approved by Congress, but they try and shut down other things to make you angry about it. And we go through that whole thing. So President Trump declaring a state of national emergency in order to fund the wall himself. And there are legal rights for him to do so as president. If he declares a state of emergency, he has the right to appropriate funds and resources as needed through the presidency. And he's had this power for a long time. Many presidents have had this power for a long time, including one of Barack Obama. I know. Now, if you remember way back when, try and think back. I know we have short-term memories in politics at times, but let's go back to 2012 when the conservatives were very upset because Barack Obama was signing an executive order that was giving him, we thought, way too much power and could potentially allow him to declare martial law when he chose to do so because they widened the parameters of what a state of emergency was that he was allowed to declare, whether it was tornadoes in the area, whether it was hurricanes, whether it was a bad storm, whether it was power outages. He could declare a state of emergency, declare martial law, and we were very concerned about this. And to a degree, that is still in effect. But Executive Order 13603, I don't know how many people still remember this one, was signed by President Barack Obama March 16th of 2012. The purpose of the executive order was to delegate authority and address national defense resource policies and programs under the Defense Production Act of 1950. All it did was reinstate the National Defense Production Act of 1950. Executive Order 13603 provides the framework and authority for allocation and appropriation of resources, materials, and services to promote national defense. That's it. That's what it does. Now, Barack Obama, with the disregard he had for the Constitution, it was very concerning at the time when he did it because he was very much into the idea of, well, we need to take guns away and, well, we need to make it more centralized. He wanted to really federalize the law enforcement programs to where it wasn't by state or by county or by city, but it was actually all by the federal government, and we would have a federal law enforcement program instead of a county sheriff's office or a state patrol or whatever else. It would all be done by the federal government. He wanted to centralize that stuff. It was very concerning at that time with some of the things he was doing. Donald Trump has not had that fear tactic spread of him wanting to take over everything. He's not a fascist, as many on the left try to claim that he actually is. I know. Again. He's not the fascist that the left's tried to claim that they want him to be, when in fact Barack Obama centralizing and federalizing all law enforcement, trying to have more power in the executive branch, and wanting to take control of many aspects, that would be something called big government. But we don't want to look at that one, right? This was done originally from the Truman administration in 1950 with the Defense Production Act of 1950. And what it does is once he declares a state of emergency and a national defense issue, then we have that state of emergency and he can delegate resources to where it needs to be. Under that specific now there are other places as well where he has this power, but under that one executive order signed by Barack Obama that the Democrats supported, right there, he has the power to say this is an emergency, a state of emergency at the border, a national defense issue, as we have terrorists coming across the border, we have guns coming across the border, we have drugs coming across the border, we have child molesters, and we have a human trafficking coming across the border. We have issues happening. We're not securing our border the way we need to. We want people to come in legally, but until then, it is a state of national emergency. We're going to fund the wall, we're going to build the wall, and I'm going to do it by myself. And he has the right to do it. And I'm glad that he's doing it. So, President Donald Trump, thank you. Thank you. Because you have the authority to make this happen. And then you can take it out of the hands of the Democrats that are trying to obstruct, that do not care about the safety of this nation, that do not care about the drugs or the guns or the human trafficking coming across our border back and forth, that do not care that we have no idea who's jumping our fence each and every day. I don't know if you saw the story or not of the elected official in Mexico that jumped to the top of our wall. In one place we did have a wall and a border, just to say, oh, hey, look, I can do this. And look how easy it is to do this. Instead of saying, hey, look, yeah, there's an issue, let's start enforcing it on our end as well. They don't want to do that. It's all on us to figure it out. But while Democrats are showing very evidently that they do not care about you and I or the defense or security of this nation because they don't want to fund border security, we have to do it in our own hands. So do this. Take money away from a program like, I don't know, the EPA. Take it away from them, delegate it to the wall and for national security, put more Border Patrol down there, hire more Coast Guard for the waterways, hire more Border Patrol for the wall, build the wall. Let's do some contractors to actually build the wall, create some jobs. I want a Great Wall of China along that border. Let's make it happen, and we can do it on our own accord. And then Democrats can vote to open up the government again, and then they can come back and say, well, we opened it up, and we can say, yeah, because we handled the issue on our own. Remember, it's all about the PR game as well. It's all about the way we can handle this to the media and to the general public as well. And when President Trump does this and comes back and says, I did it. Congress didn't help me. Democrats didn't help me. I did it. I funded the wall. And I hate the word I because, we don't like the chauvinistic type of mentality in politics. You're supposed to be doing it for the people. But when he promised on the campaign trail to say, we will fund the wall, we will build a wall, and I'm willing to shut down the government to do it, and he did that. And he takes the matter into his hands because he has no other option, and he does that. And he builds the wall and fulfills a campaign promise the way that people voted him to do, and he does it with the strenuous situation that we're in, with the government shutdown, and he pushed and tried to fight, and he took the matter into his hands, and he did it unlike any other politician would actually do. If he does this, he will win re-election in 2020. Right there. He can go back to the American people and said, I fulfilled the campaign promise. I did what I said what I was going to do. End of story. The economy's up. Jobs are going up. Unemployment going down. The stock market's correcting itself. It's going up, going down, whatever, but it's correcting itself so that way it can continue to grow. In the long term, it will continue to go up, as it always seems to do. I did that. I have arrested more individuals with human trafficking than any other president has in the past. I'm stopping the crime going on at the border. I'm stopping the drug trafficking in the border, or at least we're going to limit it. We did it. It's a success. This is a time where you can put that banner up that says mission accomplished if he does it right. But just by the very own tools the Democrats provided in the past under Barack Obama, he has the authority, he has the delegation to do it, and the Democrats are now kicking themselves in the behind, saying, why did we allow President Barack Obama to do this? Because now he's using our game against us ourselves. And they don't like that. It's okay when they do it, not okay when we play the same game back at them. So, of course, they're going to challenge it in court. They're going to take it to the Supreme Court. And it's all going to be, and then, during this whole process, the government will continue to be shut down. And at the end of the day, the Supreme Court will look back and say, wait a second, you guys just signed the executive order in 2012. There was already the ability for this to happen in the past. There are issues going on at the border. We see the issues going on at the border, and therefore the president has a right to declare that as a state of emergency and do this. And it may take some time, but it will get done. Do it! That's what I want to hear tonight on his presidential address at 8 o'clock tonight. That should be a fun one. Got to take a break. 22 minutes past the hour. Your thoughts. Do you like this idea? Is it a bad idea? Does he have the right to declare a state of emergency and build the wall on his own accord without congressional approval? Or is that stepping over the bounds as president of the United States? I want to hear from you when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Ag News, Mid-America Ag Network. I'm Craig Mead. Good morning. Well, the partial government shutdown of USDA and more than a half a dozen other departments and agencies has entered its third week. Farm bill implementation, spring planting decisions, food stamp spending, and many other activities that depend on government funding are or will soon be in limbo due to the partial government shutdown.
They're going to be closing down until such time as the budget battle is sorted out.
That's American Farm Bureau Executive Director Dale Moore. And now shutdown is in its week 3, with many federal workers facing their first payless payday Friday. And the president and Democrats will be under huge pressure to resolve their dispute over border wall funding. Moore says producers can't wait much longer for USDA to get back on its feet.
When a farmer is making planning decisions, it runs the gamut from what the markets are saying to what his creditors or her creditors are telling them as they look into the new year, how the risk management options, whether it's crop insurance or the farm programs themselves, and certainly some of the other provisions in the Farm Bill as farmers making plans, for the conservation programming.
The United States Department of Agriculture has canceled key crop reports this week due to the government shutdown, depriving markets and producers of key price setting and planning data. Moore says producers need certainty, and they need it soon.
All of those pieces are critically important, and right now the missing element is how soon can they get into an open FSA office and sit down and figure those details out.
Market facilitation payments were continuing, but without Farm Bill rules and staff, new ARC or PLC and other sign-ups won't be able to happen. And USDA may notify states this week that it will soon have to curtail funding for SNAP food stamp and other nutrition programs, forcing states unable to run budget deficits like Washington to halt benefits. Ag News, Mid-America Ag Network.
Let's go, girls.
Hi, I'm Scott Stiles. Join my lovely wife, Shannon Stiles, every Saturday morning right here on KQAM for Successful Living with Shannon Stiles. She'll have guests on that have been successful all over the world. Her and her guests will discuss life-changing events and what made them successful today. That's a Successful Living show every Saturday morning right here with Shannon Stiles on KQAM, The Big Talker. Call in with your phone calls at 316-721-8255. That's Successful Living with Shannon Stiles from 8 to 9 a.m. right here on KQAM.
Right now, when it's cold outside, you should be thinking about spring, because when spring arrives and the grass starts growing, you'll want to start mowing. And Maximum Outdoor Equipment wants you and your lawnmower to be ready by offering an Oregon Parts Winter Service Special. Maximum Outdoor Equipment uses genuine Oregon parts, and through February 28th, they're offering you a 15% discount on winter service labor or half-off pickup and delivery within a 25-mile radius. Don't wait until spring and get caught in a backlog with all the folks who didn't get their mowers serviced over the winter. Save time and money by taking advantage of Maximum Outdoor Equipment's Oregon Parts Winter Service Special, which ends February 28th. See Winter Service Special details online at MaximumOutdoor.com or give them a call at 943-0201. Maximum Outdoor Equipment is the small box store that knows mowers, just south of Kellogg on West Street.
Maximum service, maximum value, maximum outdoor equipment.
It's Farm Show time. That's Topeka Farm Show time, January 8th, 9th, and 10th at the Expo Center in Topeka. 3 big exhibit areas: Exhibition Hall, Landon Arena, and Domer Arena, and it's all free. Register for 50 units of Midland Genetic soybeans treated with Edge Seed treatment. Take advantage of free health clinics daily with free blood pressure checks. Enjoy horse training clinics by Scott Daly, and check out the Kansas Soybean Expo while you're there. 3 big days and plenty to see at the Topeka Farm Show, January 8th, 9th, and 10th at the Expo Center in Topeka. For more show information, go to tradeexpos.com.
In Kansas, severe weather can come in an instant. Your home suffers every season from wind and hail. When disaster strikes, you need someone you can trust, someone local, someone like Morrison Roofing and Construction. Founded in Derby and serving South Central Kansas, the local experts at Morrison offer free estimates and emergency tarping. Don't trust your home to those storm chaser companies. Stick with the local experts. Morrison Roofing and Construction, 316-202-8000. That's 316-202-8000, or visit them online at morrisonroofing.biz.
Call the Voice of Reason now on the ABC Recycling phone lines at 721-8255. This is The Big Talker, KQAM.
7 minutes past the hour. Welcome back in. Good Tuesday morning to you. Great to be along for the ride today. It is the long week after all the holidays. We're going to try and keep you going, advancing conservatism each and every day, trying to limit the power of the government, trying to do what's right. I don't know. According to AOC, though, as long as we're morally right, who cares about the facts? Here's the crazy part. When the facts actually line up, the facts meet the moral obligation as well. I know she doesn't see it that way. But it does. Morally, we're correct when we're factually correct. They kind of work together hand in hand, because you're moral when you actually use the facts on your side and it actually makes sense. You don't tax everybody to death and then try and provide them a crappy service. You can purchase it for a heck of a lot cheaper at an individual rate. And then you can actually take care of yourself, and that is the morally correct thing to do. When you actually create security at your border, that is a morally correct thing to do, and the numbers actually jive with it as well, where it's a lot cheaper to actually enforce the wall than to allow the corruption that goes on at the border. I'm just saying, but a lot of people don't like that anyways. 316-721-8255. There is, by the way, here back on the local level, there is a women's march planned for January 19th. Hey, are you going? Yeah, come on. I think you're going to show up. That's right. Wichita will be marching its 3rd annual Women's March. third annual. I don't know why it's an annual thing now, but the Wichita Women's March, co-sponsored by the Women's March Air Capital and the League of Women Voters, will coincide with other marches nationwide on January 19th. The Wichita March will will start at the Keeper of the Plains at 1 p.m., move down Central Avenue towards City Hall, where a rally is planned with speakers, live music, voter registration, activists, and more. I love the voter registration thing. Whenever they get a chance, voter registration. Let's try and get people registered. Now, of course, they probably already have the Democrat box already checked on there, just so you know. But, you can definitely go and register. I'd love someone to go down and register and be like, I want to register as a Republican. Can I do that, please? Oh, you should see the looks they're going to give you. I know, yeah. It's about empowering women to educate themselves and each other on the issues women are facing here locally in a state of Kansas and here in Wichita, and encouraging women to claim their voice. As the theme of this year's march is Claim Your Voice. You can claim your voice as an individual. Doesn't necessarily have to be about women issues. And correct me if I'm wrong, not sure. As far as I'm aware, I'm not a woman, so I don't know. I don't know unless I self-identify as one today. But Donald Trump has not taken away any women's rights in the 2 years he's been in office. As far as I'm aware, could be wrong on that one, though. Got to take a bottom of the hour break. This is the Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Now back to the KQAM News Desk.
Vice President Mike Pence doing some advance for his boss, President Trump, telling Good Morning America the president will describe a crisis at the border, demanding a wall when he speaks on TV tonight from the Oval Office.
We're going to continue to carry that case forward until the Democrats in Congress come to the table and start negotiating, not just to end the government shutdown, but to address what is an undeniable crisis at our southern border.
The president's address scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Turkish President Erdogan has snubbed White House National Security Advisor John Bolton for demanding that Turkey not harm Kurdish fighters allied with the U.S. in Syria when U.S. troops leave. Turkey regards the Kurdish fighters as terrorists. Erdogan refused to meet with Bolton today. In Pace, Florida, an 86-year-old woman is being charged with murdering her 89-year-old husband with a walking cane. The Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office says Ramona Maxine Lund is also undergoing mental evaluation. I'm Michael Toscano.
At Anytime Fitness, we know that healthy doesn't happen on its own.
But together, we can make healthy happen.
With the right help.
In the right ways.
With an ally who listens.
With coaching and team workouts.
To get you to your healthier place.
Anytime Fitness. Let's make healthy happen.
January 1st through 11th, join for $1 and get a free Jumpstart training package with a coach, valued at $100. Visit myhealthyhappens.com.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Unlimited talk and text plus 3 gigabytes of high-speed data now for $20 a month for the first 3 months. Just $20 a month on a lightning-fast 4G LTE nationwide network and no contract. That's our best deal ever. Learn more at simplemobile.com. Simple Mobile, out with the old, in with the simple.
Requires new auto re-up enrollment by 3/31/19. $23.75 per month after first 3 months. Credit card and Simple Mobile account required for enrollment. See terms and conditions of service at simplemobile.com.
Kansas Mid-America Network News. Good Tuesday. Kansas Representative Steve Watkins not accepting his congressional salary until the federal government fully reopens. Watkins spokesman Jim Joyce said yesterday that the freshman Republican congressman began refusing his $174,000 salary when he was sworn into office last week. Parts of the federal government have been shut down since December 22nd because of a dispute over President Donald Trump's demand for funding for a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. President Trump taking to the national television airwaves this evening at 8 o'clock to plead his case. Former Wichita State basketball standout and Scott City native Ron Baker looking for a new team for the second time in as many months. The Washington Wizards reportedly released the former Wichita State All-American yesterday, parting ways with Baker rather than paying the full amount of his contract. Mid-America Network News.
This is Phil Martinez from Phil's Coins. It's sad when it happens, but there are still businesses out there that will try the old bait and switch. They'll promise you one thing to get you in and then deliver far less, or something totally different once you're there. At Phil's Coins, when we say we buy, sell, and trade with honesty and integrity, that's exactly what we mean. In fact, I encourage you to shop the competition first. It will make doing business with Phil's Coins like a walk in the park. Phil's Coins, 9344 West Central.
No one wakes up and plans for a car accident, but there are some things you should know about Norris Collision Center of Goddard in the event that happens. Like the fact that Norris Collision Center doesn't charge a storage fee when your vehicle is brought there. The fact that the tow truck that arrives at the accident scene will take your vehicle to Norris Collision upon request. And the fact that Norris Collision Center of Goddard will provide you with rental car assistance. Big city quality with small town service. 794-1161 Norris Collision Center of Goddard.
You can find out why Pizza John's is the choice for pizza in Derby for over 44 years. Pizza John's in Derby, the original purveyors of round meals and flat snacks, is more than just pizza. Lunches include salads, spaghetti complete with garlic bread, and Pizza John's of Derby is the hoagie headquarters of South Central Kansas. Dine in or carry out. Delivery after 5 p.m. by simply calling 788-2011 or quick and easy online at pizzajohnsderby.com. Pizza John's.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker KQAM for this morning. Sunny and windy, high around 52, clear and 27 tonight. Tomorrow, sunny and 48, partly cloudy and 30 for tomorrow night, partly sunny and 46 on Thursday, chance of rain and snow on Friday. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 7:35, it's currently 44 degrees.
This segment of The Voice of Reason on KQAM brought to you by Riverside Cafe, home of the 3-pound burger and hand-cut fries, plus breakfast all day long. 2 Wichita locations and 824 North Baltimore in Derby. Riverside Cafe. It's time for some common sense, sanity, and reason.
You can't handle the truth.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
You know, that sounds like an AOC interview with 60 Minutes. I'm just saying, right there, you can't handle the truth. But as long as you feel like you're morally correct, then I guess you're all right. That's cool. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK, kicking off your Tuesday morning here, 36 minutes past the hour as we feel your dose of sanity, common sense, and reason on a daily basis. It's time for our city update. We haven't done this in a while.
We built this city.
As we have Mr. City Council Member Bryan Frye back in studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Andy. Yes, it has been a while.
It has been a while. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Absolutely.
You guys enjoy the holidays?
Absolutely. Thank you. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and your family. I know it's an important time with the little one in the house.
Her eyes light up. And I tried to sell her on the fact that maybe instead of milk and cookies to Santa Claus,
pizza and beer.
Pizza and beer. We were thinking, cookies and beer, and that Dad would sacrifice a beer for Santa Claus because he probably gets tired of milk at every house.
True.
And she was like, "Yeah, but I still want milk."
Yeah, I've tried that logic when my kids were little too. So
I tried. Maybe it'll win over next year. We'll give it a shot. So, but Happy New Year to you. It's last year was a heck of a year. A lot of crazy things. Now we're kind of using that momentum to roll right into 2019 now with the stadium, and we'll get an update from that. A lot of things that are going to be upgraded, fixed on, worked on throughout the city, and we might have it'll be like a whole brand new city this year.
We were talking about this the other day with some other folks. The city has taken some major steps over the last few years. When you consider that we now have Intrust Bank Arena, we built a brand new airport, we built the Advanced Learning Library, we have a new law enforcement training center.
Sure.
We're rebuilding Lawrence Dumont Stadium. I mean, there's been a lot of great signs of growth and progress in this city, and I think our momentum is peaking. I think our worst days are behind us, and our best days are ahead of us.
Sure.
Because of the projects that we've been taking on, the things that we've accomplished. We still have issues, critical infrastructure, water treatment, a sewer plant down south, Century 2. These are discussions that we still need to have and figure out, but we've checked a lot of boxes.
Right.
And we're moving things in the right direction. Like I said, the momentum, I think, is the highest it's ever been. So 2018 was a fantastic year. I think you're going to see a jobs report later this week that's going to say, yes, the things we've been doing have been working. We're seeing it in all phases.
Okay.
So, it's very exciting times right now.
It really is. Now, to go along with that, I know that we're doing a lot of things at the city level. I got to ask, and I asked the mayor this briefly when he was on Shannon's Style Show on Saturday morning as well, but the state itself still not up to par yet. We saw the tax receipt report come in for December. Retail and sales tax still extremely low. People still aren't spending a lot of money there, whether it's because of the economy, whether it's because of the tax rates. I don't know. Is any of that stuff going to be affecting the city of Wichita come 2019, you think?
Actually, just by looking at the jobs report that I saw and some of the other announcements that have been made recently, Wichita's ahead of the curve.
Okay.
The state itself is still challenged, absolutely,
sure.
Especially in western Kansas, Topeka area. Kansas City and Wichita are the outliers, and we continue to grow, especially in the manufacturing side of things. Construction, our activity is up in both of those areas. Retail is going to continue to struggle. I mean, that's just the way the world is now with online ordering and so forth. And so, but our other areas are up, and so we're ahead of that curve. We need to keep that momentum, keep pushing that, keep making the right investments so that people want to live here and want to move to Wichita. So
sure,
I think we've got some real success points with that.
Good. Some of the first off, we got to get an update. The stadium is gone. It's weird not driving on Kellogg, going downtown and going past downtown, and not seeing the big lights and everything there. Kind of an interesting view now.
Yes, it is. And the design build committee, the team is working hard on designs and figuring out how it's going to look and where everything's going to be situated. I know that they've figured out the orientation of where home plate's going to be sited, and that makes a big difference because everything has to be built around that.
Okay. Home plate, that's it.
Got to put that in its location. It's still a very aggressive schedule, but fortunately, the clearing of Lawrence Dumont Stadium came down a lot quicker than everyone anticipated.
Sure.
There weren't any surprises, no mammoth tusks underneath or anything like that. So
that would be kind of fun though too.
So now they're ready to start construction, but the design is still in its early stages and getting it all decided. And so I know Mayor Longwell and a couple other council members are on that team, and they're very excited about the progress that's being made. And so it's exciting times.
We're moving forward with
it.
It's
I'm sorry, I'm a little melancholy today because it's my last day as vice mayor. After today, I will formally be known as vice.
No, as vice. That's right. Yeah, former. Today's the last day. You got to enjoy it. You got to soak it up and enjoy it today as
it is
vice
the final
mayor.
countdown. Yep.
That's right. So how does that process work today during the meeting? You guys vote on it and decide. Does someone jump up and say, "Hey, I want to do this"?
So I mean, vice mayor is rotational.
Okay.
We choose amongst ourselves who's going to serve as vice mayor for the next year, and so today we'll figure out who that's going to be and make that selection. We also have the selection of Pete Meitzner's replacement for District 2.
That's right.
He ran for county and won, so he had to resign as city council. He had 1 year left on his term.
Sure.
So there were 7 people that came forward and said, I'd like to serve in that capacity. And so the district advisory board for District 2 narrowed that 7 to 5. And then council members and the mayor, we have interviewed all of those 5. And then today we'll make a selection from that on his replacement for the year.
Good.
And then so this year is also an election year for the mayor and then city council districts 2, 4, and 5.
Okay.
So whoever wins this seat today for District 2 could decide to run
as vice mayor.
No, well, that's true. Or they could run for council 2 district for the next term. So those are 2, council-related businesses, things that we got to handle today.
Sure. Well, that would be a fun process just to see as well. And I know you've enjoyed being vice mayor. It's been fun watching you do a lot of that. What have been kind of the duties? I mean, what do you do as the vice mayor?
So really, it's filling for the mayor when he's out of town or sick or not able to attend a meeting or handle briefings or whatever it may be. You're filling in the role when he's not available. This year, Mayor Longwell's had to travel quite a bit between a couple of visits to the White House. He was president of the League of Kansas Municipalities, so he had to spend a lot of time in Topeka.
Okay.
So, I've had to run meetings. I've had to fill in for him at appearances and so forth. And so it's been a lot of fun. I've got to do some things I didn't expect I'd get to do, starting with presiding over the swearing in of myself as vice mayor.
Hey, well, that works.
If you remember, that was pretty odd. He was out sick the day that was supposed to happen, and so I had to kind of orchestrate it as not yet vice mayor, but filling in as vice mayor. So it was kind of interesting. But no, it's been great. My fellow council members have been supportive and great to work with on it. Staff has been wonderful, and then it's just been a lot of fun.
Sure.
But yeah, today I'm lame duck.
Yeah, lame duck session. That's right. Try and stand your ground and do it as long as you can. That's right. Yep. But the change going on today, and then we'll it'll be fun to see whoever takes up that role again.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a rotating factor.
It is. I mean, Mayor Longwell sets a good vision and allows us to run our districts and do the things, but having opportunities to fill in has been a lot of good experience. And so, and again, it's a great council to work with. Sure. So that makes it easier as well. We all get along, and I know
that is a good thing.
Yeah. Couple of business things we have to deal with today. We're going to continue to discuss water and sewer rates.
Yes.
We've talked before on this show about infrastructure needs as it relates to water and sewer, mainly a new water treatment plant and then a water sewage treatment plant down south. Those two projects are $700 to $800 million, and so we don't have the budget to pay for that up front. We're going to have to save over time, and so to do that, you have to do it through the Water Enterprise Fund, and that's an effect on ratepayers.
Sure.
And so how can we lessen that impact and spread it out over as much long period of time as we can? And right now, staff has kind of put together some different scenarios where it's a 20-year payback. Well, that's, at the high point, almost 5% annually, and that's a lot for some of us to bear. I mean, we're not thrilled about that idea. Would like it to be much lower, so we've asked staff to, all right, look at a 30-year payback. I mean, because we're really talking about saving it, because this is going to take us 10 years between design, build, and finish construction between the two projects. And so
it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while before these two projects are finished and done, but we're going to need to start saving that bank because it's going to take a lot of money.
Sure.
And so because it's such a big both are such big projects, let's lessen that impact by spreading it out as long as we can. And so we've asked for them to look at a 30-year payback. And what would that impact be on rates? Hopefully we can get down to maybe 3%, 4% instead of that 5%. That'd be ideal. And so we're going to have that discussion today. We don't have to start on, right now.
Sure.
But the quicker we start saving the money, the better. And so that's why we continue to have these discussions.
When all the projects are actually done and we did upgrade everything, we did what needed to do, how long will this equipment last us before we have to look at this kind of thing again?
Well, again, our current water treatment facility has been in operation since the 30s. And so if we could get that kind of...
enjoy that, yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I can tell you that they've gotten a lot smarter about how to treat water and more efficient and better technology. So hopefully it could last, 80 years or more.
Sure.
It's just it all goes back to growth and how much, the city is demanding and using. Drought conditions obviously have an effect because then you're pulling from different resources.
Sure.
So
I mean, if it's elongated like that, then it's worth looking at a 25, 30-year extended type of payback for this type of thing, because then we're still enjoying the product when it's without actually having to pay for it for that long term. What's frustrating is a lot of times what we see with like the city or the school board, when they would do some type of bond and the loan for the bond to pay for something is longer than what it actually is to enjoy the product before we have to look at replacing it all over again, and then it's not even worth it in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and again, this is a water treatment facility that needs to serve multiple generations, and so we need to build it right.
Right.
We need to build it to last, and build it for the future. And so that's why it has to be it's why it is such a big project.
Sure.
And then the last thing that's kind of interesting for your listeners is this summer we lost the chillers at our ice center. We have 2 sheets of ice there south of Lawrence Dumont Stadium, and we lost the chiller, and so we weren't able to have ice. And it's, you got to have ice,
problem.
Right? Yeah. And so we rented a temporary chiller to get things back to running, but that only allowed us 1 rink. Now we're going to buy new chillers so we can get everything operational again with 2 sheets of ice, and that's about a $1.8 million investment to get that stuff back the way it needs to be. But it's been a very popular amenity for our residents. We've been able to bring in some sporting competitions. There was an ice skating competition earlier this year.
Okay.
That used those 2 sheets of ice as well as the one at Entrust. That if we didn't have all that, we wouldn't been able to bring in that convention.
Sure.
The Thunder uses it, obviously. So it's a very important quality of life issue that we need to get back on track and get it running again. So that's just a progress update on something that's been very important for a lot of folks.
Sure,
so.
Absolutely. You know what we need to bring into town? I didn't realize that we didn't have one here. It was an aquarium.
Oh, right.
We don't have an aquarium. We have the zoo, and I know the county does a fantastic job with the zoo. We need an aquarium in town.
Right. You know, I know the zoo master plan has some long-term aquarium amenities type things.
Okay.
Maybe not a full-fledged aquarium like you would see in New Orleans or Atlanta. When I'm thinking about the world-class ones, those ones
absolutely.
I think of. Tulsa's got a pretty neat aquarium, but I know our zoo has got some plans on bringing some aquarium-like elements to it.
Okay.
But it's been talked about for a long time. Is that the next amenity that we need?
Sure. And this is coming from a guy who does not like the water. I mean,
I know you don't.
I don't like the water. Don't care for it. Especially the ones where it's like walk through the tunnel where it's all glass and water.
With all the sharks coming over.
No, not doing it. Never going to happen. Although I will pet the penguins. I still got to pet. Penguins are the best thing in the world. Nonetheless, an aquarium would be kind of fun to have.
I get that.
As we talk about some of the entertainment values as we continue to grow as a city. Maybe something that we have on the back burner.
There you go. No, it's a great idea.
I like it.
So one last thing, speaking of water.
Yes.
The mayor and I are going down to Jacksonville this weekend for the commissioning of the USS Wichita.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which is the new littoral fighter cruiser.
Yeah.
That's going to start an operation based out of Jacksonville, and this weekend is the final commissioning. So pretty excited about that. You don't have many...
I like that.
Ships like this, and it to be branded as USS Wichita is pretty cool. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That needs to be right on the North Korean border. What do you think? You can put it right
this
up
one's
there.
going to patrol a lot in the Mediterranean Sea, is what I understand.
Oh, okay. All right.
So.
Very good. I like it. A lot of stuff going on in the city.
Yep.
As you mentioned, going to be a big year. It is sad that stepping down as the vice mayor, but I know you're still going to be doing a lot of great stuff, and we always love it. So, Bryan Frye, Wichita City Council member, if people want to go to the meeting today again and kick off the new year with some of the city issues, how can they do so?
So, council meetings start at 9 a.m. City Hall is at Central and Main.
Okay.
And council chambers are on the first floor. So
very good. Should be fun. Bryan, enjoy. We appreciate it all the time.
Thank you.
Look forward to another year working with you.
Appreciate it, Andy. Thank you so much.
Always a good time. Got to take a break. 9 minutes to the top of the hour. Your phone calls when we come back. Lots more to get to. It's a Tuesday. It is 2019. It's the voice of reason. Stay here.
The voice of reason with Andy Hoosier.
Market update, Mid-America Ag Network. I'm Craig Mead. Live cattle futures saw 65 cent to $1.27 gains in most contracts on Monday. Feeder cattle futures were up 85 cents to $1.10. The CME feeder cattle index was 46 cents higher January 4th at 146.06. Wholesale boxed beef prices were mixed Monday. Choice boxes were down 23 cents at 214.28. Select boxes were 55 cents higher at 208.21. USDA estimated Monday's federally inspected cattle slaughter at 118,000 head. That's 1,000 head above the same week last year. Lean hog futures a nickel to 52 cents lower in most contracts Monday. The CME lean hog index was up 38 cents from the previous day, 53.63. That was January 3rd. The USDA pork carcass cutout value was up 86 cents Monday afternoon with an average weighted price of $70.56. The national base hog carcass value was 67 cents higher with a weighted average of 48.87. Monday's federally inspected hog slaughter estimated at 480,000 head. That's 22,000 head larger than the same week last year. Refocusing now, corn, soybeans, wheat. Corn futures are mostly a penny a bushel higher this morning after ending Monday steady to fractionally lower. Soybeans are just a bit higher this morning after closing Monday with most contracts 2 to 3 cents in positive territory. And wheat futures are currently unchanged in Minneapolis to as much as 2.5 cents higher in Chicago after settling steady to 4 cents lower on Monday. Taking a look at where we are right now, March corn is up 1 3/4 at 3.84. Maize up 1 3/4 at 3.92. March Kansas City wheat is 2.5 higher at 5.05.5. May is up 2 1/4 at 5.16 3/4. January soybeans down 3/4 now at 9.11.5. March beans down 1 1/2 at 9.22 3/4. We're seeing some mixed numbers in the products. Soybean meal is mostly lower, while soybean oil is mostly higher. Market update, Mid-America Ag Network.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. It's time you checked out the new Voice of Reason webpage at kqamradio.com. Read the daily message on issues of the day, both good and bad. Check out the weekly guests, line up for the show, see what events or rallies you may be able to see me at, and even listen to the podcast of the show. Everything you want to know about the show is all right there. Just go to kqamradio.com and find the Voice of Reason under the local shows tab. It's kind of the reasonable thing to do. It's the Voice of Reason on the web at kqamradio.com.
Pride Ag Ace Hardware of Maize, your one-stop shop to keep you comfortable as the coldest months of the season make their way to Kansas. Something for everyone that you might be needing this time of year. From many forms of heaters, ice melt, snow shovels, insulation kits for sealing up those drafts in doors and windows, and bird feeders and feed to keep the feathered friends happy this winter. Pride Ag Ace Hardware of Maize. We're much, much more than just a hardware store. Shrug off that cold this winter with Pride Ag Ace Hardware of Maize, where we take pride in serving you.
Mark Collier at Collier Allstate knows mayhem can happen at any time in Kansas. Whether you live in the city, one of Kansas's great small towns, or out in the Great Plains, Mark and Allstate will protect you from the effects of mayhem. Home, health, life, or business, Mark and his great staff will help you find the best protection. Mayhem is guaranteed to come. Let the Mark Collier Agency help you through it. Mark Collier, the Collier Agency, 204 North Main in Goddard. Give them a call at 316-413-4014 and on Facebook at Collier Allstate.
Mike here at Rusty Eck Ford with some exciting news. Our year-end offer is now extended till January 31st. That means you can still come pick out a new Ford and make no payments till 2020. That's right, drive it for all of 2019 and make no payments until 2020. Check out our nice selection at rustyeckford.com or come in person and take a look. When you decide, we'll set it up with no payments till 2020. Hey, it's a new year and you can have a happy new car. New cars, trucks, or SUVs with no payments till 2020 through January 31st. This offer is only available at Rusty Eck Ford in Wichita Town East and Kellogg. We're Rusty Eck Ford proud. Dealer retains rebates, Ford credit, interest accrues from date of sale. All negative equity paid in full. Max payment assistance up to $500. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Come visit us at Rusty Eck Ford or go to rustyeckford.com.
Riverside Cafe, whether it's the two Wichita locations or in Derby, is proud of their all-day breakfast. It's what's helped make Riverside Cafe famous. And now for you early birds, from 6 to 9, you can pick any four for just $4. Sausage link, hash browns, slice of bacon, 3 silver dollar pancakes, quarter biscuit with gravy, a sausage patty, slice of buttered toast, any four, only $4. From 6 to 9 every morning. Pick 4 for $4 at Riverside Cafe, 9125 West Central and 13th and Benning in Wichita, and 824 North Baltimore in Derby.
The Dana Show, live weekdays at noon, here on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Four minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Thanks again to Bryan Frye, Wichita City Council member, soon to be former vice mayor of the city of Wichita. We appreciate what he does each and every week, and we love getting him on the program each and every Tuesday right here on The Voice of Reason. Hey, just speaking of different meetings and things you can go and attend, as of today, you can go to the city council meeting. You can also go to the county commission meeting tomorrow. We'll have Jim Howell, Sedgwick County Commissioner, on the program to talk about that one as they're back into the groove. I believe today's the last, or tomorrow for the county will be the last day that Richard Ranzaw and David Unruh will both be there as they step down, and the new ones will be sworn in from there. So then we'll have a whole new experience with our county commission. Also, tomorrow, I want to remind you, at 6:30 is the Legislative Public Forum, where you have a voice, you have an opportunity, and you can make your voice heard. Listen to the legislative individuals, our elected officials here for the South Central Kansas delegation. You can make your voice heard. You can sign up to speak, and I believe, like last year, you had a 2-minute window for you to say whatever you wanted to, encourage them to vote a certain way, push a certain agenda. Last year, all the progressives in the area showed up to try to expand Medicaid and try and tell our elected officials to support Medicaid expansion, and that's not what we need. So we need to show up in mass. It's going to be at 6:30 at the Sedgwick County Government Courthouse at 525 North Main Street. Again, 525 North Main Street tomorrow at 6:30. I'll be there as well. We're going to try and speak. If you don't want to speak, just show up, show your support, and let's show that we actually have conservatives that are actually interested, that are engaged, and that want to make our voice heard. It's not just city area elected official. It's not just county, but it's the entire South Central Kansas delegation. If you're in the radius of our airwaves right now, then your elected official should be there. And if they're not, then that's their problem. But the majority of them will be there, and we can make our voice heard because they're going to come up and they're going to say, oh, we got a Democrat governor, which showed that people wanted Medicaid expansion. You better do it. I don't know if you remember or not, but we ended up taking, 3 or 4 seats away from Democrats to conservative Republicans in this last election in South Central Kansas. We did very well at the local level, having local representation to actually have conservatives be elected into our state legislature. So the public forum tomorrow, 6:30, 525 North Main Street, the old courthouse. I'll be there. Come see me there. Let's show up together in a large mass. Let's have a little fun with it. What do you say? Hour number 3, The Voice Reason. Lots more to get to right here on the show. Don't miss it.
It's Mary from Wildwood Cellars. Our pure elderberry concentrate is especially popular this time of the year, and people ask us what makes ours so much better than the rest, and I have to say it's how we make it, so that none of the good properties of the elderberries are ever lost. Nothing is ever dehydrated, and we add nothing to it. No sugars, syrups, alcohols, additives, or preservatives, just pure concentrated elderberry with less than 1 gram of carb or sugar, so you can take it straight or add it to any juice or drink of your choice. Online at wildwoodsellers.com.
In January, everybody's wallet could use a little spending break, and at Yoder Meats we can help with that. This month we are offering our cheapest bundle of the year, only $57. The January bundle includes ground beef, minute steaks, sirloin steaks, pork chops, and chicken breast, all for just $57. If you're looking for an even better deal or a little less meat, the butcher bag is $28 this month. Follow us on Facebook for the latest information and weekly specials. Taste the old-fashioned flavor at Yoder Meats in Yoder and 3 locations in Wichita.
This is a Steckline communication station, K273CX, FM 102.5, and AM 1480 KQAM, Wichita Proud. It's time for your latest news from the KQAM News Center. Brought to you by Phil's Coins, Kansas's largest coin dealer at 9344 West Central. Phil's Coins, buying, selling, and trading with honesty and integrity.
Good Tuesday morning. Wichita police yesterday afternoon investigated an accidental shooting in a vehicle in the area of 37th Street North and Rock Road. Police say around 12:45, a person in a car was trying to put a firearm into a holster, and in doing so, the gun accidentally discharged, striking the person. Paramedics took the person to the hospital to be treated for injuries. KWCH-TV reports the injuries are not considered to be life-threatening. For nearly 11 months now, a committee of volunteers have weighed options about the future of Wichita's Century 2. Committee members said they found significant damage to the roof, leaks around the HVAC system, air conditioning that needed to be repaired, and asbestos issues inside the building. KTV reports the committee hasn't yet decided to recommend Century 2 be renovated or replaced. Either option, some estimate, could cost nearly $200 million. The committee is expecting to have a final recommendation to the Wichita City Council within the next 6 to 8 weeks. An Ohio professor is alleging in a lawsuit that Wichita State University retracted an employment offer after she told them she was pregnant. The Wichita Eagle reports that Evangeline Heiliger says that she revealed her pregnancy for the first time and asked about child care back in March when she was offered a tenure-track job as the assistant professor of women's studies. Wichita police have arrested 2 additional male suspects in connection to a December convenience store robbery that left one suspect dead after being shot by a customer. Around 7 o'clock Saturday evening, officers conducted a traffic stop in the 200 block of North Edgemore and arrested the 17 and 16-year-old males without incident. Both were booked into juvenile detention on robbery and drug charges. And forecasters say we will enjoy mild temperatures again today, then a cool down through week's end. I'm Rick Everett. Now sports with Doug Downs.
The college football season wrapped up last night, and a new national champion was crowned. It was the Clemson Tigers after a dominating performance over Alabama, 44-16. Freshman quarterback Trevor Lawrence was the MVP of the game. The Kansas City Chiefs are getting prepared for their playoff game coming up this Saturday against the Indianapolis Colts. Andy Reid met with the media yesterday. A lot of questions about his playoff record and how has he handled it for this year's team.
You've played a season. I think it's important that you don't worry about all that. You worry about the process that you're going through to get ready to play against a good football team.
From the sports desk, I'm Doug Downs.
MJ's Truck Repair at Exit 46 off I-135 in Mound Ridge, America is the largest full-service truck center between Wichita and Salina in central Kansas. Truckers in the know already know, and ag people from miles around know they can turn to MJ's Truck Repair for repair and parts for their tractors, combines, and hay equipment. You construction types, listen up. Skid steers, backhoes, forklifts, bulldozers, and payloaders. MJ's of Mound Ridge is also your construction equipment, parts, and repair headquarters. Find MJ's on the web at mjstruckrepair.com.
Whether it's your home or your business, from roofing to foundation repair, Romani Construction of Wichita makes the process of construction or home and business improvement easy. Romani Construction involves you in the process from concept to completion. Better Business Bureau accredited, Romani Construction specializes in roofing, fire and water restoration, foundation repair, and concrete, and is locally owned and operated. From setting a start date when things actually get started to completing your project on time, call Romani Construction of Wichita, 252-7972.
Pride Ag Ace Hardware of Maize, your one-stop shop to keep you comfortable as the coldest months of the season make their way to Kansas. Something for everyone that you might be needing this time of year. From many forms of heaters, ice melt, snow shovels, insulation kits for sealing up those drafts in doors and windows, and bird feeders and feed to keep the feathered friends happy this winter. Pride Ag Ace Hardware of Maize. We're much, much more than just a hardware store. Shrug off that cold this winter with Pride Ag Ace Hardware of Maize, where we take pride in serving you.
Here's the latest from the KQAM News Center.
Vice President Mike Pence doing some advance for his boss, President Trump, telling Good Morning America the president will describe a crisis at the border, demanding a wall when he speaks on TV tonight from the Oval Office.
We're going to continue to carry that case forward until the Democrats in Congress come to the table and start negotiating, not just to end the government shutdown, but to address what is an undeniable crisis at our southern border.
The president's address scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Turkish President Erdogan has snubbed White House National Security Advisor John Bolton for demanding that Turkey not harm Kurdish fighters allied with the U.S. in Syria when U.S. troops leave. Turkey regards the Kurdish fighters as terrorists. Erdogan refused to meet with Bolton today. In Pace, Florida, an 86-year-old woman is being charged with murdering her 89-year-old husband with a walking cane. The Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office says Ramona Maxine Lund is also undergoing mental evaluation. I'm Michael Toscano.
Your local weather on KQAM. Brought to you by Propane Central, residential, commercial, industrial, and agricultural. Visit them online at propanecentral.com.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker KQAM for this morning. Sunny and windy, high around 52, clear and 27 tonight. Tomorrow, sunny and 48, partly cloudy and 30 for tomorrow night, partly sunny and 46 on Thursday, chance of rain and snow on Friday. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 8:06, it's currently 44 degrees.
Morning news with Rick Everett, here on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM KQAM. It's time for Reason.
The fact of the matter is that a free market, free enterprise style of education means that you had the choice as a parent to take your kids where you feel they're going to get their best education. And that holds the school accountable to have a higher standard because they need to compete with other schools in order for you to actually want to take your children there, not to be forced to take your children there. It's kind of like the healthcare industry.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 3 of the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. We are streaming, simulcasting on TV as well. KGPT TV, channel 2610. Welcome aboard. We're also streaming on YouTube Live, youtube.com. Find KQAM Radio as you can subscribe to it, watch us live, watch all the podcasts, leave a comment, whatever you want to do. It doesn't really matter. Welcome in. It's a Tuesday, the post-Monday, rolling along, advancing conservatism on a daily basis. And it's time for us to actually recognize reason, common sense in 2019, as this is our year. We can do it this year. And I'm really excited to do so. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to call into the ABC studio hotlines, ABC Recycling studio hotlines, we'd love to hear from you. I'm really excited. Let's get right to our next guest as we talk about issues in Kansas. And trust me, we have a lot of issues in Kansas. One way I think that we could kind of see as an example, if we continue to go down the road that we've gone down in many ways, is Illinois. And Illinois, as you know, has had its troubles, and with the filing with bankruptcy and with the high tax rates and trying to figure out what to do. We have Chicago that just has, I mean, you remember the names like, Rod Blagojevich and some of these other interesting characters that have run Chicago and have run Illinois for a really long time. And the question is, how do we get back into the groove to allow the state to flourish? Constitutionally, the states are supposed to be sovereign states, and we're supposed to have, whether it's social programs, whether it's environmental protections, whether it's health care, whether it's whatever, if the states have the prerogative to do as they wish as a state, not as a federal government. But the states need to run smoothly. And right now, many states have not, including the state of Illinois. And I'm really excited to have on the show with their latest book, the upcoming book, The New Chicago Way, also with the Illinois Policy Institute, which I love having these organizations on. As you know, we have Dave Traubert from the Kansas Policy Institute on about once a month or so. But from the Illinois Policy Institute, we have Ed Bachrach on the line with us here. Ed, good morning, my friend. How you doing?
Good morning, Andy. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on very much. Just so some individuals may know or may hear, they may not have been following Illinois politics for a while. Illinois has been struggling as a state for a while, has it not?
Oh, Illinois has been struggling for decades, but it's really coming to a head. I would like to correct one thing that you mentioned in my introduction, though, Andy.
Sure.
My co-author is with the Illinois Policy Institute.
Oh, Austin Berg. Okay.
Austin Berg. Yeah, he's the senior content strategist there. I am not. I know those people well.
Sure.
But I'm not with them.
Okay.
And yes, Illinois has its share of problems, and the driver of the Illinois economy and Illinois politics is Chicago.
Sure.
And so our book talks specifically about the government structure in the city of Chicago. And
which
that's
I'm sure is a complicated
that's
beast.
enough for one book. Mm-hmm.
It is. Well, give us a bit of a structure breakdown of that, because you're right. I mean, Chicago dominates the state, and with the complexity of just Chicago itself, where have they gone? What kind of road have they gone down? And with what you guys have written with the New Chicago Way, how can we begin to bring that back?
Okay, so let me just kind of give you the story of the book in 25 words or less. Chicago's problems are so much greater than any other major city in the United States, and I'll get to that in a second. They are that way because the government in Chicago consistently makes poor decisions, and it does so because it has a century-old governance structure whereby the mayor calls all the shots and nobody else counts in the city. So let's look at some of those problems. Homicide rate. In 2016, the homicide rate per capita in Chicago was 5 times the combined homicide rate of New York and Los Angeles.
Wow.
Clearance rate, most recent statistics, fewer than 20% of homicides are cleared, which means that if you go out and shoot somebody and kill them, you have an 80% chance of getting away with murder. The clearance rate for shootings, even if you don't kill them, is 7%. So you have a 93% chance of getting away with shooting somebody without getting caught.
Wow.
We have pension debt of $43 billion, which is higher than 44 of the 50 U.S. states. We run chronic deficits, both the city and the Chicago Public Schools bond ratings are near junk. And we have, so that's just a sampling of some of the problems.
So what it sounds like is that we have, as you mentioned, with some of these problems, is that we have a which is fascinating because, as far as I'm aware, the Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, and yet they have a crazy homicide rate that involves guns. Maybe we should loosen up some of the gun regulations and maybe start looking at reforming some of the Cadillac pension plans.
Well, that's the pension plan issue is also another trap that has been foreclosed by the Illinois Supreme Court. So we have a provision in our state constitution that says that any participation in a public employee pension plan is a contractual obligation, and the benefits cannot be diminished or impaired. And the Illinois Supreme Court on multiple occasions has upheld that and said you can't change a thing about those plans. Wow. So we're in a pretty solid concrete box as far as pensions are concerned in the state.
Sure. That's a concerning thing. What are the tax rates now? Because I know after this all came out a couple of years ago and the distress that Illinois was in, and they had to raise taxes temporarily, are the tax rates still extremely high just to compensate as we're trying to figure out what to do next?
Well, I'll talk about Illinois, but then I'll also talk about Chicago. But in Illinois, we have, the principal sources of revenue for all levels of government are sales taxes, income taxes, and real estate taxes.
Okay.
At a local level, there is a disproportionate reliance on real estate taxes. That's a historical fact. And yet, in Chicago, we have some of the highest real estate taxes of any major city. We have the highest sales tax rate of any major city, and the state income tax rate is 4.95%. It just went up from 3%, from 3.75%, and the newly elected governor plans to introduce legislation and a constitutional amendment to make it progressive. So our top bracket will likely be 7 to 10%.
Wow.
So in Chicago, it's no tax left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. They squeeze every little bit of that out. Now, when it comes to the breakdown spending of, let's say, the city or even the state, and maybe comparison of both, I'm sure that not only is the pension plans an issue in Chicago, but here in Kansas we have a very vast disproportionate amount of the state funding going towards public education in the state of Kansas. When it comes to that, is that an issue that's brought up as well when it comes to public education, inner city schools in Chicago, how much money they're receiving, and the debate when it comes to their funding as well?
Yes. Education funding is a big item. And to be honest with you, the most states in the United States, because of the structure of our federalism, the two biggest line items should be education and Medicaid. I'm not saying from a moralistic or policy standpoint, but that's just the way it's set up.
Sure. And
those are certainly the two biggest items in the Illinois state budget. The problem in Illinois is that we're so far behind, and our public employee pensions are so underfunded that we have enormous obligations there, and they're crowding out everything else. We have budgets where, at the state and at the city level, pension payments, required pension payments, are between 25 and 40% of the total budget.
Wow.
Yeah, and these are legacy costs. So you're paying for something that should have been paid years ago, decades ago, and yet the way we have deferred that expenditure, we'll be paying off that for the next 40 years.
There's so many ways we can go at this because there's so many issues that seem to arise. But I guess the big question is, as we begin to look at trying to fix a lot of these issues, as you mentioned, let's go back to the beginning when you mentioned that right now the mayor essentially in Chicago has all the power. How do we start limiting that power of the mayor? Is it the delegation to the city council? Is it starting to reform the courts and the Supreme Court that's tried to uphold some of these hearings and start changing the mentality of how we actually fix and address a lot of these issues? What's the first step that Illinois can start taking and Chicago can take to get this all under control?
Well, Andy, you've asked the billion-dollar question, and we've the methodology of our book is that we look at the top 15 cities in the United States by population. We look at their problems, and we look at their governance structure and how they've reformed. And we're not alone. Even though we've got horrible policing problems, so did Los Angeles about 20 years ago. You remember the Rodney King video.
Sure.
And yet they reformed their police department and its governance structure, and it now has one of the most efficient and fair and just policing programs in the United States. You remember New York when it went broke in 1975, and the famous headline in the New York Daily News, Ford to New York, dropped dead. And yet they undertook fiscal reform, and they have a set of fiscal practices that is keeping them on the straight and narrow. So we can do this. But it takes wholesale reform and procedural and structural changes in the city of Chicago. In the appendix to our book, we have 4 pages of specific recommendations for change and reform. These are not kooky ideas. Every single one of them exists in the majority of the large cities in the United States. Chicago just needs to stop making mistakes, grow up, and start to reform its government and function properly.
Well, it's going to be a long road to do so, and I'm sure that even as you mention it, I'm sure that the mayor and all the powers that be that like the power they currently have are not going to go quietly into the sunset, are they?
Well, they may not go into the sunset, but and I'm not commenting on the mayor. Our current mayor has chosen not to run for re-election after 2 terms.
Okay.
So we have now 12 people running for mayor. That's down from 21 initially announced. So it's a free-for-all. But one thing that happened just less than a week ago is that the long-serving alderman, we have an alderman who has been on the city council for 50 years, and he was hauled into federal court, and charged with extortion, a shakedown of a Burger King operator. And so this is just the beginning. You're right. We certainly have our share of corruption here, too, and it's all tied together.
Sure. We're talking with Ed Bachrach, The New Chicago Way, the latest book coming out. Last question before we let you go. I know we're running short on time, but as you mentioned, I mean, you have a field of about 12 candidates running for mayor right now, which reminds me of like a presidential Republican primary field with how big that is. What are some of the ideas? Are there some from all sides and all different views on the political spectrum that are coming out wanting to run for this, and what have been some of the ideas that they've talked about on the campaign trail running for the seat?
Well, it's very curious. Nobody was talking about any reforms. Everything was just a bunch of feel-good initiatives for economic growth and social justice for the whole campaign until this alderman was hauled into court. And now there is a scramble to see who can be the biggest reformer. And you're getting breathtaking reform ideas coming from some of these candidates, things that we recommend in our book.
Good.
But where were they? They've been in public life here for decades, and suddenly they didn't even recommend it last Wednesday, but by Monday they were recommending these things. So it shows well.
Well, yeah, you light the fire under their feet sometimes, and then they say what they need to. So hopefully we can get somebody in there that can start doing the reforms. It's going to be a long process. It's going to be a hard process, and hopefully someone's up to the task to do that. Ed Bachrach, the book is The New Chicago Way. Last word, we got about 45 seconds.
Yes. So the book is it is out. It is published by the Southern Illinois University Press. It's on Amazon.
Perfect.
And it'll be a good lesson in civics for people in other cities.
Well, exactly. This is a great example to learn what you guys are going through, unfortunately, and how to avoid that in other places, and how we can look at reforming different aspects around the country as well. It's a great book, The New Chicago Way, on Amazon. Can you download like a PDF version of it as well?
It'll be on Kindle any day now.
Perfect. I love it. Ed, we appreciate the info very much. It's great stuff. We'd love to touch back with you guys again later.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey, appreciate it very much. Got to take a break. 23 minutes past the hour. Really interesting information there. We'll talk about all that and more when we come back. Open lines to you as we wrap up the program today on a Tuesday. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hi, I'm James Carey. And I'm Morris Carey. Are you ready for some winter indoor projects that'll have your home ready for spring before the snow is gone? Join us right here every week for how-tos and help with your home projects, problems, and more.
Hi, it's James Carey inviting you to join Brother Morris and Cameron for On the House Saturdays at 5 p.m. here on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM KQAM. Brought to you by Croft Lumber.
The world's largest tech trade show is underway in Las Vegas, and our lives are set for a major digital makeover. Kim Komando with your Tuesday Consumer Tech Update. Get extended interviews on tech topics with the free Komando podcast, available on Apple and Google Podcasts. We already have internet-connected cameras, locks, and thermostats. Coming soon, your internet-connected oven will look at your calendar and suggest recipes based on how much time you have and what's inside your fridge. Your kitchen faucet will dispense the correct amount of water for a recipe. And that glass on the oven door, it's also a camera, so you can zoom in and see if your meal is ready without opening the oven door. Your range hood is a flat-screen TV with dual cameras, so you can ask Grandma how long she bakes an apple pie. And gone is the familiar buzz that the clothes are done in the dryer. You'll get an alert on your phone or TV. CES is not about today. It's the future tech that we'll use in 3 to 5 years. I'm Kim Komando. For years, I've been telling you about my printer of choice, the Epson EcoTank 4750. And it's easy to tell you why. It's revolutionary, it's wireless, and a complete all-in-one printer that's 100% cartridge-free. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to hate to having my print jobs interrupted just to replace an ink cartridge. Now, there's no more hassle with the Epson EcoTank 4750 because it comes with up to 2 years of ink right in the box. That's enough to print up to 11,000 color pages, and that's equivalent to about 30 ink cartridge sets. If I had to go buy 30 cartridge sets, that would cost me about $1,500. I love my Epson EcoTank printer, and I know you will too. And from now till March 31st, buy any EcoTank printer at Epson.com/EcoTankKim and get free overnight shipping when you use promo code EcoTankKim at checkout.
Offer valid within the 48 contiguous states. Exclusions apply, subject to availability.
And now this message about fully customized vehicle wraps and graphics from Shire Graphics of Park City.
Park City Shire Graphics has the highest quality of big truck and fleet graphics, from passenger vehicles to the big rigs and everything in between. No matter the size of your fleet, Shire Graphics of Park City is the area's leader in digitally printed vehicle wraps. Superior quality digital vehicle graphics from Shire Graphics, where their niche is your need in vehicle graphics, from single vehicle to fleet. Shire Graphics at shiregraphics.com.
The Miller Minute with Dennis Miller.
I want to talk about Nancy Pelosi. I've never been a fan of the once and current Speaker of the House. I've always considered her approach to governance alternatingly unrealistic, dangerous, and ego-driven. Watching Pelosi take back the gavel from Paul Ryan, I had the same old reaction to Pelosi. But it was that moment that I realized Republicans need a Pelosi, someone who manages to rally support to get the votes she needs to pass her agenda. Republicans might have Trump, but they need more blunt talk and determination in Congress. Someone who drives the left as crazy as Pelosi makes someone like me. I might not like Pelosi, but I'm not supposed to. She's there for her true believers, the Kool-Aid drinkers in the House and across the country. What Republican in the House can seize this moment as the opposition to be that pit bull who never lets go and gets results? Well, don't look to the Senate, where Mitch McConnell is the political equivalent of a GPS that lets you know that it's perpetually recalculating with no real idea where to go. Somebody step forward in the House. And that's the minute. I'm Dennis Miller.
You started a DIY project at home. Then you realize convenience isn't always easy. The why in DIY doesn't mean, why is this so hard? At ADT, we DIFY. Do it for you. We customize and install a secure smart home that you control from the palm of your hand or the sound of your voice. Smart security, designed and installed just for you with ADT. Visit ADT.com/smart to learn more. License information available at ADT.com. ADT. Real protection.
Are you looking for senior care for your mom or dad but don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Joan London with The Place for Mom. Nobody knows your parent or loved one better than you, and nobody knows senior living better than the experts at A Place for Mom. It's a free service, and we've helped thousands of families find the right place for their mom or dad. There's a place for answers, A Place for Mom. Call today.
Call A Place for Mom at 1-800-379-1174. That's 1-800-379-1174.
Travel the world with the Careys. Sundays at 10 on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason, 29 minutes past the hour. We have the bottom of the hour news coming up in just a minute. You know what I took away from that interview is that they are so messed up in Illinois and Chicago especially. They gave the power to one person solely. They gave the power to the courts, and because of that, nothing's going to get fixed. Nothing's going to be done. And look at that. You got an 80% chance of getting away with murder after you shoot somebody. A 93% chance of actually getting away with just shooting somebody without killing them, but shooting them, and law enforcement not going to be able to do anything. And, oh, by the way, you used a gun with the toughest gun laws in the country. Time to reform, you think? Maybe just a little bit. We'll talk about all that and more. Got some calls on the line. Don't go anywhere. We'll take you as soon as we get back here. Open lines to you for the last half hour of the program on a Tuesday. It's the Voice of Reason. Bringing some reason to it. Let's actually do some reform, and let's not go down that path. What do you think? Nationwide, citywide, countywide, statewide. We got some work to do, I think. This is the Voice of Reason. Lots more coming up. Stay right here.
The latest news from the Big Talker, KQAM.
Vice President Mike Pence is speaking out ahead of President Trump's primetime address tonight.
I think President Trump is prepared to do what's necessary to address what is a real humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
Mr. Pence on ABC's Good Morning America. The president will make his case for Congress to approve $5.6 billion for a southern border wall. The administration is also talking about declaring a national emergency to raise the funds, something Democratic Senator Chris Coons believes would be met with a challenge.
Frankly, if the president tries to reach out and extend his executive power and try and get our military to build the border wall, declaring this a national security emergency, I think he'll face a significant and likely successful challenge in court.
In the meantime, hundreds of thousands of federal workers face missed paychecks Friday as the government shutdown drags through a third week. I'm John Trout.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
Say, Jan, as a fellow respected small business professional, I wonder, who do you use for commercial auto and business insurance?
Progressive, of course. They helped with a customized insurance solution for my busy florist company.
I'm so glad we had this chance encounter in this busy restaurant.
Yes, that fake conversation was brutal. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit progressivecommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated and third-party insurers.
Kansas Mid-America Network News. Good Tuesday. A 31-year-old white man from Wichita accused of kicking a 1-year-old black boy and shouting racial slurs in a Dillon store has been charged with attempted aggravated battery. Trace Riff made his first court appearance yesterday after being charged in the December 23rd incident. Witnesses told police the boy was holding his 11-year-old sister's hand when Riff kicked him. The toddler was not injured in the incident. Shady telemarketers would face a tougher time operating in the Sunflower State under a new bill. Incoming Republican Representative Bill Riley of Wellington says he has pre-filed the bill after getting complaints about calls that appear to be from Kansas, but instead are automated sales pitches from telemarketers in other states or overseas. Wichita Eagle reports the bill would set limits on the use of robocalling equipment and crack down on, quote, neighbor spoofing in telemarketing calls. I'm Rick Everett with Kansas Mid-America Network News. When it comes to the trailer you're hauling behind your vehicle, whether it's a big rig or a pickup truck, MJ's Truck Repair at exit 46 off I-135 in Mound Ridge, Kansas has your back. Doonan and Chaparral drop decks, flatbeds, and heavy hauling trailers for the big rigs, along with gooseneck livestock trailers by Barrett. And for your pickup truck, the utility line of trailers from Rice with 5x10 to 8x20 boxes. MJ's Truck Repair, Mound Ridge.
Mike here at Rusty Eck Ford with some exciting news. Our year-end offer is now extended till January 31st. That means you can still come pick out a new Ford and make no payments till 2020. That's right, drive it for all of 2019 and make no payments until 2020. Check out our nice selection at rustyeckford.com or come in person and take a look. When you decide, we'll set it up with no payments till 2020. Hey, it's a new year and you can have a happy new car. New cars, trucks, or SUVs with no payments till 2020 through January 31st. This offer is only available at Rusty Eck Ford in Wichita Town East and Kellogg. We're Rusty Eck Ford proud. Dealer retains rebates, Ford credit, interest accrues from date of sale. All negative equity paid in full. Max payment assistance up to $500. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Come visit us at Rusty Eck Ford or go to rustyeckford.com.
Here's your latest forecast on the Big Talker KQAM for this morning. Sunny and windy, high around 52, clear and 27 tonight. Tomorrow, sunny and 48, partly cloudy and 30 for tomorrow night, partly sunny and 46 on Thursday, chance of rain and snow on Friday. I'm Amp Harrell, and that's your latest forecast on Wichita's big station, the Big Talker, AM 1480 and 102.5 FM KQAM.
At 8:35, it's currently 44 degrees.
Call the Voice of Reason now on the ABC Recycling phone lines at 721-8255. This is the Big Talker, KQAM. When it takes two to read the news,
I'm trying to warn everybody and nobody takes me cereal.
You're in the wrong place. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM, KQAM.
You know, that's a really interesting point. If it takes two to do the same job instead of one, you know, hey, apparently it's not a shot of anybody. Nobody, no. Just have some fun with it. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Wrapping up the program today, 36 minutes past the hour. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hoosier. This half hour of the program brought to you by Wildwood Cellars. It's more than just buying a bottle of wine or mead. Learn the tips about finding the wine that you like, not the wine that you're supposed to like. There's so many people that I've talked to actually that are like, you know, I'm just not a big wine person. It's because you haven't found the right one. It's because someone tells you, oh, yeah, you need to like this one, and you drink it like, wow, that's really dry, or oh, that's way too sweet, or whatever. But find tips to find the wine that you like from nationally acclaimed vineyard Wildwood Cellars off the Turnpike in Mulvane or at Maple End Ridge right here in Wichita, online at wildwoodcellars.com. Appreciate them partnering with us here on The Voice of Reason. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK on the ABC Recycling hotlines. Let's go right to them here. Line number one. Good morning. What's your name?
Hi, Andy. This is Helen.
Good morning, Helen. How are you?
I'm doing just great.
Good.
Well, and I hope you are too.
Absolutely.
In spite of all of this ugly politics.
Hey, you know what? I dig it. I immerse myself into it completely, and I bathe myself in it because, you know what? Sometimes that's just what you have to do.
Right. You just got to put it on the old battle armor and just get in there and fight, right?
Yeah. Hey, there you go. I like that thought.
Well, I called our representatives yesterday in the White House, and I encouraged them to support the president to enforce this national security, act
sure.
to defend our nation. And, and it's disgusting that he has to do it when the Congress is supposed to be doing it, too.
Sure.
Article 1, Section 8, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises to pay the debt. And, they're not paying off the debt. They're just increasing our debt.
Sure.
And provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. Well, they're not doing that.
No.
They're allowing these, they're just absolutely dropping the ball. They're not following the Constitution. They're lawbreakers.
You're right. I mean, they're going about their own agenda, their own accord. You're right. They're not funding it for what needs to be funded. One of the sole duties they actually do have as a nation is national defense and securing our borders and immigration policy, which they don't want to address. They don't want to handle it. They're leaving the borders open. And then as the House of Representatives passes a budget that includes like $20 billion going towards foreign aid for middle Central American countries, but we can't spend $5 billion on the securing of our own borders, then you see the priority. And the Democrats, look, they're trying to say that they're in the right, that they won the majority for the House of Representatives. They own one branch of they own one chamber of one branch of government, and they're trying to dictate to everybody else, saying the Senate better fall in line with them, another branch of the federal government with the executive branch and the president better fall in line, the Supreme Court better side with them and go in line with them. And they're getting a little too big for their britches. As they want to open up the government, they're refusing to compromise. They're refusing to work with anybody else, and they're trying to dictate to everybody, and it's not going to work. And I think eventually, as people are getting more and more angry, that they're going to realize that they want the government to be open regardless of whatever ends up having to happen, and the Democrats are going to have to give in for this, or President Trump's going to take it into his own hands. He's going to fix it himself, and then we can open it up, and then he's going to get the credit for it, and the Democrats are going to lose their minds.
Well, I'm wondering if these Democrats like the illegal immigrants lawbreakers because they themselves are lawbreakers,
Well, they like them because they can stay in power with having more individuals actually getting to vote and having illegal aliens who are non-citizens actually vote, which is their next step. It started in California. It started in, Maryland, I believe it was, where they could allow illegal aliens to actually vote. They hate voter ID laws to prove actually who you are, so that way they can allow the little loosey-goosiness of the actual laws. Helen, I appreciate it because you're absolutely right. There's a deeper meaning behind this. It's not just saying, well, we support border security, but we just don't want to do it with the wall because there's other ways to enforce the border. That's been tried, and that's the same talking point that you've had since 1980 or 1985 or 1984 when Ronald Reagan ended up working with you to try and enforce and want to build a wall as well. And you promised him that if you allowed amnesty, if he allowed amnesty, that you would enforce the wall and build the wall and enforce immigration. And you can see how that's worked out since 1984, 1985, whenever it was. So you see what they want to do. They've talked about, it's the same talking about. Eventually people are going to catch on. I know that they're the donkeys and they have a very short-term memory span. They don't like to remember things from a couple of years ago, but they are the ones that have had the same talking point for years and years and years of saying, well, they try and talk tough. We're going to enforce the border. We cannot have illegal aliens coming across here. We need to secure our borders. At the same time, now they're saying, yeah, we want to secure it. We just don't want to do it your way. Really? Really? Yeah. It's not going to fly. It's not going to happen anymore. We will build the wall. And again, look, President Trump will look, if he sticks to his guns, which he has, he was not afraid to shut down the government. We're in the third longest government shutdown, quote-unquote government shutdown. Again, you cannot have a government shutdown when you furlough non-essential personnel for 8% of the government being non-funded right now. That's not a government shutdown. That is called, in my mind, a government correction. Because if you're a non-essential personnel, you shouldn't be on the payroll of the federal government in the first place. And these agencies that are now being affected saying, well, you're not going to get Social Security, you're not going to get Medicare and Medicaid, you're not going to get this, you're not going to get that. If you try and file your taxes early, you're not going to get your tax refund. IRS is shutting down. Really? Really? It's not because they're not funded. They are funded. They were in the past appropriation bills that are actually working. It's 8% of the government. It is very limited different agencies that are not getting all of their funding. And now the Congress, who has the right to delegate what gets shut down during a quote-unquote government shutdown, is now trying to put the pressure on agencies that affect you. The IRS, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever else. I mean, the national parks, to where, well, we can't fund them. Really? Yeah, you can. 8% of the government is unfunded, and that's not part of it. Everything else should be operating. What they should be doing is saying, well, EPA, you're not funded yet because we didn't pass that appropriations bill. We didn't pass that portion of the budget with you included, so we're going to start furloughing you. And the longer this gets, then we'll start cutting more and more people out of your agency to where you're going to be non-existent. We shut you down completely until we get you reopened. Nothing else is going to be touched, just your agency. But they won't do that. So they start spreading it out everywhere. They start making everything else be affected because they want you to think that you cannot live without the government running full force, increasing and growing and increasing and taking more and getting more and sucking it all in and eating it all up. They love that, and they want you to feel like you cannot function in your daily life without the government, even though every other agency is funded properly. But they don't care. They don't care. In any way, shape, or form. 316-721-825. I mean, you heard Sharice Davids from the 3rd Congressional District. I played it in the first hour on her idea of compromise. Would you be willing to fund the border in order to open up the government again for it to function properly? Because she did the sob story about how her being Native American and a tribe member of one of the tribes ended up dying because the roads were closed and they couldn't access them because the government's running fully, because 18 days of the government not being open fully. And apparently they didn't have a truck to get to the person they needed to, and the person died, and now it's the government's fault. So are you willing to compromise? Because, obviously the life is more important. You need to open up the government and do your job. Are you willing to compromise?
Well, we actually did just vote to use federal funding levels that have been approved on the Senate side in a bipartisan way. And in my view, the House Democrats coming in and passing a bill that has had Republican support previously is exactly the kind of bipartisan thing we need to be doing. And, my hope is that the president recognizes what's at stake and will sign a bill to get the federal government back open.
Yeah, sign the bill. We did compromise. We signed a bill that's not meeting the one demand that they're asking for, but we signed a bill that was passed before with bipartisan support in the Senate, so moderate Republicans that have worked with Democrats signed it. So I'm willing to compromise by signing a bill, and you better get on board with what we want because we have the power, because we are more important than you. That's the mentality of the progressive. That's from our very own Sharice Davids here at the 3rd Congressional District, and that was an interview on NPR yesterday. Now you know the priorities that they have. They don't have any intention to compromise. We have to give in. We have to say, okay, you can have whatever you want, spoiled little brat. We have to give you everything you want. You're the child throwing the temper tantrum, which you really are. You have one chamber of government, or one chamber of Congress. You have one portion of one branch of government. You have the House of Representatives. The lower chamber, mind you. The Senate's the upper chamber. The Senate still has a Republican majority. They're not going to pass your bill. You have to get the president on board. He's not going to sign your bill. You have to get the Supreme Court to approve it. They're not going to approve your bill. So you are really still the child in the minority overall with the size of government, who's running the government in every other chamber and every other branch of government. You're the children throwing the temper tantrum, and we're supposed to give in. We're supposed to give in. I don't think so. It's not going to happen anymore. President Trump's going to make his announcement today at 8 o'clock tonight. And I really hope that he declares a state of emergency, because just as Barack Obama had the ability to do with his executive order that he signed, that actually reinforced a bill that was back from 1950 with the Truman administration for the National Defense Resource Preparedness Executive Order 13603, that Barack Obama signed March 16th of 2012, that gave him the ability to declare national emergency and allow for the allocation of appropriations of resources, materials, and services to promote national defense. And with crime going across the border, with drugs going across the border, with guns going across the border, with human trafficking coming across the border, with gang members coming across the border, with potential terrorists coming across the border, that is a national defense issue. He declares a state of emergency. He appropriates the resources and the money to build the wall and enforce the border on his own accord without Congress. And guess what? He just won himself a new term in 2020. What do you think? 316-721-8255. Let's go back to the ABC Recycling Hotlines here. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
man, can a guy get a word in edgewise?
I don't know. I tell you what, it's stupid how much they're trying to play the sob stories here. I don't know if you've heard the news stories about, the federal worker, I'd rather have the government open and me get a paycheck because I can't survive anymore, and we really don't like this. And President Trump says that that we all agree with him with not getting a paycheck, but we don't. We want our money. So go work in the private sector. It's not that difficult. You're not supposed to be a non-essential personnel taking my tax money anyways. Give me a break.
No, that crap doesn't fly with me. I know what they're doing. It's just more psychological warfare by the media.
Sure.
Which is what I love about Trump, is because he uses psychological warfare on them.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
So, besides, on the 28th of December, I got my federal pension. So, it's not affecting me. It's not affecting a lot of people.
Sure.
Most people. You got to be directly employed by the federal government for that to.
Well, listen to this. Listen to this, because how long is the government shut down? What, 18 days, something like that? Less than a month. Less than a month we've actually been shut down. And Sharice Davids, our 3rd congressional congresswoman, was on NPR yesterday, and she played the sob story because of these 18 days that apparently a plow truck was not able to get to a member of a tribe at a Native American tribe on their land, and she blamed the government being shut down and not working properly on the fact that he died. This is what she had to say on NPR yesterday.
Well, the shutdown directly impacts tribes in a number of different ways. You actually already mentioned a couple of them. I spoke with one tribal leader who said that they actually lost a tribal member because they were unable to plow the roads so that an emergency service vehicle could get to him in time. Literally, lives are at stake because the federal government is not up and running in the way that it's supposed to be.
Come on, Sean. Literally, lives are in jeopardy because the government's not open because of 18 days or whatever it's been, less than a month, 18 days of a government shutdown. They did not have the money. They did not have the trucks. They did not have the resources to plow one road to go save somebody on a reservation, and therefore the government shutdown is literally putting lives in jeopardy. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's a load of crap, just to try to get sway public opinion. Hey, I tell you what is a fact, and that's when liberals are in charge, people die, for sure. For real.
No,
literally.
Every time
literally, yes. We get into a war, man. I mean it. Every time. Every single time we get into a war after they've been in power. They could even be in power and we wind up getting into a war. Yeah. But usually it's their stupid, ridiculous policies that screw this country up so bad domestically, along with the foreign policy, that after 4 to 8 years of it, the American people have had enough. They put in a Republican and to fix everything, and we might even have to get involved in a military engagement somewhere, but it gets fixed. Like I've said this before, it's a vicious circle. And so when the people feel like it's safe to go back and put the Democrats back into power, then they vote them back into power, and we get the same crap all over again. It's been this way for my entire 54 years of life.
Well, sure. And instead of actually advancing on what we need to advance when we take power again, it's just correcting the mistakes they did. We start to do something good, and then we got to see it get screwed up all over again with the pendulum swinging back again. Sean, I appreciate the phone call. I want to sneak some more in before we take a break. I hate that word literally, too. I hate that word. Don't like literally. Like literally. Like, really? You're not going to be literally before, or you're not going to be literal in any other time? Like, literally, totally. Drives me. I hate that word. And it seems like our Sharice Davids from the 3rd District, are we going to have like our very own AOC? Are we going to have our very own Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Are we going to have Sharice Davids be the representation of AOC here in Kansas? She is a progressive, but she's Native American and she's a woman, so they were really, really excited to get her into that seat. And apparently just tribal members are dying left and right because the government's not open to plow their road for them, because they totally didn't have the trucks and literally didn't have the trucks and funding to plow the road after 18 days of not receiving a paycheck on the reservation or something. I don't know. I don't get it. Let's go back to the phones here. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, it's Gary.
Gary, good morning, sir. How you doing?
Well, I literally have an issue with what you're saying. Helen can back me up on this. The Bible, we're getting away from biblical principles here. The Bible says, do not withhold the wage earner his wage. And so you got that working there. What is it, 8%? Is that the right figure that
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's 8% of the federal government is not funded, so they have to affect 25% of the government by shutting down memorials, shutting down, apparently you're not going to receive Medicare after February, you're not going to have your tax returns to because the IRS is shutting down, you're not going to receive your food stamps in February, apparently, if you're on food stamps. So they're shutting down other things that aren't even affected by the lack of funding for that 8% of the government, and they're withholding people's pensions, they're withholding people's payments, they're withholding all this because they want you to feel the burden to say, oh my gosh, I'm now affected, the government needs to be open to take care of me. Why are we not opening up the government? They want you to be angry.
Who's the they? Who's the
Congress. They? Congress has the power to appropriate what's shut down during a quote-unquote government shutdown.
Specifically the House, or is it both the House and the Senate?
I believe it's the House. The House has the ability for really the power of the person. They delegate where money goes. So I mean, I could be wrong on that one, but I believe it's the House that decides that. And it's surprising that wasn't even a conversation when we first shut down the government at the end of the year, when we still had a Republican majority. Now that we're in just like less than a week of Nancy Pelosi taking the gavel, now this week we hear the stories of, oh yeah, February you're not going to receive your pension. February, you're not going to receive your food stamps. February, you're not going to get your tax return if you file your taxes early. All of a sudden, these stories came out now as soon as the Democrats took control of the House of Representatives. Shocker, right?
Well, one thought on the reservation of the person who died because of the snowplow didn't get up there. We need to let them people live their own lives. How about if they can't afford a snowplow, they should have their own snowplow.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why this story is such a load of BS, is because they have a snowplow. And, I mean, even as a state of Kansas, we receive federal grants to be able to help out with the aid of our highway maintenance, to put salt on the roads, to be able to stockpile the salt for the maintenance of the trucks. I mean, we get that, but you're telling me because of 18 days of the government shutdown, they didn't receive that paycheck to put gas in the truck to go plow the road? Give me a break. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't agree with it's either all or nothing. I mean, it's not just to just pick out a few people and say, let's punish. That'd be like saying, okay, we're going to take your little girl and we're going to twist her arm and she's going to be the one, suffering until you give your money over to us. Right. I'm just trying to make up something.
They're holding the government hostage. They are really the hostage. The ones that are the abductors, the terrorists, the whatever you want to call them, that are holding the government hostage and holding the programs that they're saying are effective, that they're causing the effect of hostage because they don't want to give the border $5 billion for the wall because they don't like President Donald Trump. That's really the scenario as of right now. Appreciate it very much, Gary. We got to take a break. Got some other calls on the line. We'll try and sneak you in when we come back. Wrapping up the show today on a Tuesday. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Mixed in the livestock, mixed in the grains and soybeans. It's Tuesday. Let's start our Tuesday like that. Checking the ag futures markets with Brett Krotz at Schwederman Incorporated. Good morning, Brett.
Good morning. Well, so far it's pretty quiet here in the cattle. February live cattle up 5 at 123.25. April down 2 at 125 even. In the feeder cattle, January down a dime at 145.90. March unchanged at 143.90. In the hog market, the February contract up 57 at 62.47. April up 55 at 66.92. Over in the grain markets, we've got some strength in the wheat. March, Kansas City up 2.5 at 505.5. July up 2 at 527. In Chicago, the March wheat up 3.5 at 520.25. July up 3 3/4 at 530.75. March corn up 1.5 pennies at 383 3/4. July up 1 3/4 at 399.25. March soybeans down 3/4 cent at 9.23.5. July down 3/4 at 9.48, and then March oats down 1.5 pennies at 2.78. The March cotton 98 points higher at 73.73. February crude oil up 87 cents at 49.38. February natural gas up a dime at 3.05. We've got June gold down $7.50 at $12.95.40. March silver down 7 cents at $15.69. The March dollar index getting back some of yesterday's losses, up 33 points at 95.56. And the March Dow Jones futures with the big day up 289 points at 23,798. And for information on these and the other markets, please call us at Schwieterman Incorporated, 1-800-272-9131.
Hey, how you doing? You are experiencing an out-of-breath conversationalist. When you or someone you know tries to hold a conversation after doing something active. Out-of-breath conversations are uncomfortable, and another reason why you should join the YMCA. Right now, pay no joiner fee at the Greater Wichita YMCA. Out-of-breath conversations. What's your reason why? Find it at ymcawichita.org.
The Laundry Station in Wichita is Kansas' premier laundry services provider. The Laundry Station has machines for all of your needs in the Wichita area. In fact, the largest machine can handle 10 loads at a time. And for those of you who are not do-it-yourselfers, the Laundry Station's premium wash, dry, fold service allows you to drop off and pick up your laundry the same day in most cases. Conveniently located in the heart of Wichita, on Oliver at Kellogg. The Laundry Station, and online at thelaundrystationks.com.
Jim Bohannon. Live evenings at 9 here on the Big Talker, 1480 AM and 102.5 FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news. And this happened right as we wrap up the show just about 13 minutes ago from the Slate.com and USNews.com. But as we talk about the Senate race here in the state of Kansas with Pat Roberts stepping down in our 2020 election, the very first official candidate announcing their run for the Senate seat, someone that wasn't even on my short list, but would be really interesting to run for that seat, and that would be Kansas State Treasurer Jake LaTurner, a former state senator and appointed a state treasurer by Governor Brownback once Ron Estes stepped down and became our congressman for the 4th District. But Kansas State Treasurer Jake LaTurner running for U.S. seat in 2020, the very first Republican candidate announcing their run for that seat. That one just broke about 13 minutes ago online. We'll share that all over the place. We'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. Get your thoughts on who the best candidates are going to be, who you may think jumping in. But that one, dang, he's a good kid. We like Jake LaTurner a lot. I'm a big fan of his as state treasurer. We'll see what he does with this race for the U.S. Senate seat. Didn't get to all the calls. Sorry about that. We'll try and get you in tomorrow. Call back tomorrow. We got lots to discuss, things we didn't even get to talk about today. But we'll do it tomorrow again. Because, hey, it's a Wednesday. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice Reason. Everybody have a great Tuesday.
This is a Steckline Communication Station, K273CX, FM 102.5, and AM 1480 KQAM, Wichita Proud. It's time for your latest news from the KQAM News Center, brought to you by Heartland Avionics and JD Aviation, your aircraft maintenance partners at Augusta Municipal Airport. Learn more at iflyaugusta.com.
Good Tuesday.